Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. This is Shyam Gaguria. Now, before I start the discussion, if there is no issue with the sound, please give me a thumbs up so that we can start the discussion. Done. Let's start then. Let's start. So yesterday what we have done? Yesterday what we have discussed is basically we continued with international trade. Idea of international trade. In international trade, yesterday we have discussed economic integration. Right? What is the idea of economic integration? Having discretionary policies. Right? Having discretionary policies within the group itself. That is compared to other countries. That is the countries which are not the members of the group. You have a discretionary policy of either reducing the tariff or eliminating the tariff with the members in the group. That is called as economic integration. And in case of economic integration, how many levels are there? Generally, the lowest level is PTA, preferential trade agreement. Then we have a FTA, free trade agreement. Then we have customs union. Then we have common market, and finally we have economic union. Right. So what happens here, etc., etc. We have discussed it. Right. So how much trade is covered? Right. Is it going beyond the trade or just sticking to the trade? Right. The idea of a customs union where the members in the group will have the same customs policy regarding all the other countries, that is the non-members, right, etc. After that, we have discussed what is the context of India as well as the free trade agreement. India signed multiple free trade agreements, but the problem has been that the trade deficit that India has with other countries in the free trade agreement, the trade deficit is actually widened. It has actually increased. Apart from that, many sectors, for example, I gave you ASEAN, India ASEAN free trade agreement yesterday. India ASEAN free trade agreement has been signed in 2010, and as per the Niti Aayog, right, the survey that was conducted between 2011 to 2017, the trade deficit between India and ASEAN from $5 billion it has widened to $10 billion. And out of 21 sectors that were covered, in 13 of the sectors, the deficit is actually widened. Apart from that, I also told you, once you sign the agreements like this, generally the imports will become cheaper because you're either reducing or eliminating the tariff. And because you're reducing or eliminating the tariff, now imports will become cheaper. That will further affect the domestic market. It will basically further affect the domestic market or manufacturers in the domestic market. And so these are certain important points. But why is this happening? Why is this happening in case of India? I've told you. Some of the reasons are interest rates are higher. Cost of logistics sector in case of India is higher. Even you can add skilling problem. We'll discuss the skilling problem later. Don't worry. Right? Some of the sectors which are covered under the FTA, these are not very competitive enough. Right? Etc. Etc. So there are various reasons why we are not able to leverage or utilize these agreements and promote more and more exports from India. Then we've discussed the concept of RODTEP, remission of duties and taxes on export products. Right? What is this scheme? Earlier we had MEI scheme, merchandise exports from India scheme. But the problem with MEI scheme was these subsidies that were provided were export linked. These were simply export linked subsidies. And under WTO, there is one agreement, subsidies and countervailing measures, SCM, subsidies and countervailing measures, which basically states that whenever you have achieved a per capita national income of more than $1,000 for 3 consecutive years, then in that particular context, you're not allowed to provide export linked subsidies. So India's per capita income is more than $1,000 now. In 2015, we announced the foreign trade policy covering MEIS. So against this policy, Western countries, especially USA, went to WTO, filed a dispute against India. And the appellate, the panel looked into it and stated that yes, it is correct. India's per capita income is more than $1,000, but even then, they are giving, right? They are simply giving the subsidies, export linked subsidies. So India should not be providing all of them. That is the reason MEIS, SCIS, etc. They have been stopped, and we have RODTEP. The specialty about RODTEP is that we are not providing export linked subsidies. We are simply providing the embedded taxes as refunds. I'll repeat it again. Remember this. We are not providing export linked subsidies. We are providing embedded taxes in the form of a refund. And because we are providing embedded taxes in the form of refund, the market prices are expected to come down and the export competitiveness is expected to increase. Done? Okay. Then after that, we started with subsidies. Now focus on the idea of subsidies. In subsidies, yesterday we started with what is the meaning of the term subsidy. Then we have discussed certain types of subsidies or classification of subsidies, direct subsidy and indirect subsidy, universal subsidy and targeted subsidy. Yesterday we have covered 1 and 2. Now let me go to the third and fourth here. Conditional and unconditional subsidies, implicit and explicit subsidy. Now, what do you mean by conditional and unconditional subsidy? Let's start now. Let's start. Whenever you talk about conditional subsidies, the government will provide the incentive or let's say the assistance or the subsidies whenever the beneficiary will behave or perform in a certain way. I'll repeat the statement. Remember this. Conditional subsidies are those subsidies wherein the amount of subsidies are linked to certain conditions such as a performance or a behavior. Let me give a very simple example. Yesterday also I've used this. Today I will use the same scheme, FAME initiative, faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles. Or else I'll give you one more initiative here, the idea of a production linked incentive. Now, is it okay in case of both of them? Either you talk about FAME or PLI, the amount of incentives that are provided by the government is connected to the performance or the behavior of the company. Let me know. Start participating and we have discussed both of them. For example, in case of PLI, imagine you're a mobile manufacturer. Now tell me, just because you're manufacturing mobile, do you think government of India will provide you subsidies under PLI? Right? No. Right? Under PLI, the government will not willy-nilly provide you subsidies because you're producing mobile phones. You'll have to meet certain, right, let's say performance criteria. For example, I told you, generally in case of PLI, there are conditions like this. You'll have to invest a certain amount of money. And your sales should be right at least this much. And again, please do not read all of this because from one company to another company, from one sector to another sector, targets will keep on changing. Do not try to read it because 14 sectors are there. So now have a look at this. Imagine you're a mobile manufacturer. Just because you're a mobile manufacturer, government will not provide you subsidies. Government says achieve right this level of investment, achieve this much amount of sales, and once you achieve all of this, I will provide incentives to you. I will simply provide incentives to you. Can I call this as conditional subsidies? Let me know. Can I call this as conditional subsidies? I'll give you one more example here. Faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles. You're manufacturing electric vehicles, let's say two-wheeler. Just because you're manufacturing electric vehicle, government will not give you subsidies. What government says is half of the components, at least 50% of the components that you're using, you'll have to purchase from domestic market. Is the argument okay with all of you? At least half of the components that you're using to manufacture your vehicle, you'll have to purchase within India. You'll have to purchase from the domestic market. Only when you purchase half of it, I will provide certain incentives to you. Is the logic okay? Again, these are nothing but conditional subsidies. You'll have to behave in a particular way. You'll have to perform in a particular way. Only then you'll be provided with subsidies, conditional subsidies. What about unconditional subsidies? Best example, can I say same scheme that we have used? Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Now, how many of you believe that under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, poor people are supposed to perform in a certain way to get 5 kgs of food grains? Right? Anybody is there who says, sir, yes, sir, we are supposed to perform only then I'll get 5 kgs of food grains? Absolutely no. There is no performance indicator here. You're not supposed to behave in any way. Because you're poor, government will provide you food grains. Can I give you one more example? PM Kisan. PM Kisan. Right? Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. Under PM Kisan, is the farmer supposed to perform? Under PM Kisan, is the farmer supposed to behave in a certain way? No, government will give you 6,000 rupees. Now, whether you use it for purchasing fertilizer, whether you use it to purchase seeds, whether you purchase, right, anything else, government will not be worried about it. That's the reason under PM Kisan scheme, government will simply say it is an income support. It is simply income support. It is an income support that is provided by the government. Right? So conditional, unconditional. Let me go to the next one. Implicit and explicit subsidy. Implicit and explicit subsidy. Let me start with explicit subsidy. Right? Explicit subsidies. What is this explicit subsidy? In case of explicit subsidies, government clearly states for whom the subsidy will be supplied or given. The government policy itself says who are the beneficiaries, for what purpose we are providing. Everything is clearly given by the government. Sir, any example of an explicit subsidy? Now tell me, is a PM Kisan explicit subsidy or not? I hope you understand. Is PM Kisan explicit subsidy or not? Because under PM Kisan, government says 6,000 rupees cash support. To whom we are giving? Farmers. For what purpose? Anything that they want to utilize this 6,000 rupees for. Okay, so the explicit subsidies are those subsidies where government will clearly have a policy where they will say for whom the subsidies are provided, for what purpose the subsidies are provided. Come to implicit subsidy. In case of implicit subsidy, the government will control the supply and control the prices as well. Let me give you a very simple example here. Remember this. This is best illustrated in the form of railways. Railways. In railways, what will happen? There are different levels of travel. That is, there are different classes of traveling in a railway. One, there is a general class. One, there is a general class. And after this, we have AC tier 1, AC tier 2, AC tier 3, right? Freight transportation, etc. A simple question to you people. Whenever you take a general class ticket, when you take a ticket to travel in a general class, are the prices low or high? Think of this and answer. Right? Whenever you purchase a ticket to travel in a general class, is the ticket price low or very high? Ticket prices are very low. Ticket prices are very low. Purposely, they are kept very low. Right? Why? Government of India says it is generally the poor people who will prefer the general class. I hope you understand. It's a social welfare objective. Social welfare objective, simple. It is the poor people who will use a general class. Whereas, let's say middle class household or let's say rich people, if they're traveling in railways, they'll prefer AC tier 1, AC tier 2, etc. etc. But I'm focused on the general class here. Follow this very carefully. Whenever you purchase a general class ticket, government will provide the ticket at subsidized prices. These tickets are provided at subsidized prices. What do you mean by subsidized prices? Actual cost of the ticket could be 10 rupees. Government will not charge 10 rupees, but government will simply charge, let's say, 4 rupees. Government will not charge 10 rupees. Government will charge 4 rupees. But please understand, government will never use the term subsidies in case of railways. I hope you understand. Government generally doesn't use subsidies in case of railways. What they basically say is, we are providing social welfare to the people. We are providing social welfare to the people by keeping the tickets lower. Now you tell me, rather than charging 10 rupees, if they charge you 4 rupees, anybody who will purchase the general class ticket, rather than charging 10 rupees, they charge you 4 rupees, is it not a subsidy? Any problem here? Let me know. Is it not a subsidy? It is as good as saying government is bearing the burden of 6 rupees here. Right? Rather than collecting 10 rupees from you, they're only collecting 6 rupees. I'm sorry, they're collecting only 4 rupees. How are they able to do that? They will decide the prices. They will control the supply. They will decide the prices, thereby providing benefit to certain people in the market. This is basically the idea of an implicit subsidy. Implicit subsidies are those kind of subsidies where government will control the supply, government will decide the prices, and then provide the subsidies to the people in this way. This is one example, railways. Now let me add one more point here. On one side, I've written general class ticket, and on the other side, I will simply write goods transportation. Goods transportation. Right? Either I can use the term goods transportation, or else another name for this is freight transportation. Freight transportation. What is the policy of the railways? What is generally observed is, whenever railways will carry people in a general class, ticket prices are very low, very low. Whereas, whenever the railways will carry goods or freight in the railways, ticket prices are higher. Have you saw this or not? Have you seen this practice of government? Whenever you carry a freight, a good, they will charge a higher amount of money. And whenever you carry people like this, they will charge very, very low prices. Why? The argument of the government is simple here. By providing subsidy for general class tickets, I'm incurring certain subsidy. I'm incurring certain expenditure. But what I will try to do is, by charging higher amount of prices to somebody else, I'll be able to generate more revenues here. I'll be able to generate a higher amount of revenues. And this higher revenues will help me in providing these subsidies. Is the logic okay here? On one side, I will charge very low. On the other side, I will charge very high. And because I'm charging higher amount of money, I'll be able to generate more revenues here and try to provide, again, it doesn't match always, try to provide subsidies on this side. This practice is called as cross subsidies. This practice is referred to as cross subsidization. What do you mean by cross subsidization? Imagine there are two consumers. To one of the consumer, you will charge very low. To the other consumer, you will charge very high. The objective is simple. When you charge a higher amount, you want to generate revenues and try to provide for these subsidies. I'll give you one more example of a cross subsidization. Electricity sector. Electricity sector. Now, in case of electricity sector, please remember this. Whenever the electricity is supplied to a house, whenever it is supplied to a house, especially a poor house, right, or let's say middle income house, the charges which are imposed are very, very low. And in many of the states, 0 rupees. But the charges which are imposed are very, very low. But on the other hand, same electricity is supplied to a commercial entity. A commercial entity. So what do you mean by commercial entity? For example, a mall, theater, right, industries, a manufacturing facility. So whenever same electricity is supplied to a commercial entity, the charges which are imposed are higher. Is it not a practice of cross subsidization? Is it not cross subsidization? Right, this is the basic idea of the implicit and explicit subsidy as well as the idea of cross subsidization. Done? Right, so these are general terms which are used. I'm pretty sure yesterday some of you might have searched for this in the books. Books do not cover it, but here and there government uses these terms. Now, let me give you one more classification here. Input subsidy, export subsidy, infrastructure subsidy, and price subsidy. Let's start. Input subsidy. What is this idea of input subsidy? Whenever you purchase inputs, right? Inputs means what? Anything that you're using to produce a good. Whenever you purchase inputs, on the inputs, government will provide subsidy. That is called as input subsidy. Input subsidy. For example, a farmer will purchase fertilizer. Government provides the subsidies on fertilizer. Just give me some time, I'll show you how fertilizer subsidy is provided. So farmer will purchase fertilizer. On the fertilizer, subsidy is provided. A farmer will purchase, let's say, a pump. Electricity is provided under subsidy. So can I simply say inputs which are used on the inputs, if the government provides a subsidy, that is basically an input subsidy. Okay, next one, price subsidy. Next one is a price subsidy. Have a look at this. It is the difference between the price at which FCI will procure food grains and the price at which FCI will sell the food grains under PDS. What is PDS? Public distribution system. Now, do not worry about PDS. We'll discuss it. Right? Do not have any concern regarding this. We will discuss the PDS maybe tomorrow, but it is there. Do not worry. Now, come to the point here. There is an authority called as Food Corporation of India. There is one authority set up by the government, Food Corporation of India. And what is the role of Food Corporation of India? Government of India runs various food distribution programs. There is a program by the name of National Food Security Act. National Food Security Act. So, what is National Food Security Act? Who is covered under this? Have patience. We'll cover all of them. We'll take up PDS. We'll take up NFSA. We'll take up Annapurti Food Grain or Food Grain ATM, etc., etc. We'll take all of them. Have patience as of now. So, have a look at this. One, there is Food Corporation of India, which is established by Government of India. What is the role of the FCI? It is to purchase the food grain and distribute or ensure that the food grains are distributed. Right? Purchasing of food grain from whom? Farmers. Then giving it to the states. States will distribute the food grain. Now, follow this next point here. Food Corporation of India will purchase the food grain at, let's say, 20 rupees. I'll just simplify this. Food Corporation of India will purchase the food grain at 20 rupees. Now, how many of you believe that the food crops or food grains which are purchased will be sold at more than 20 rupees to buyers here? That is to customers or beneficiaries. Rather than customers, I use the term beneficiary. And some of you might be asking, sir, why are you asking me a question? It was there in the newspapers. Couple of months ago, all of this was there in the newspapers. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana has been subsumed under an NFSA. Now only NFSA will be there, etc., etc. Even if you have not read, which again you should have read it, but don't worry, we'll discuss that tomorrow. But argument is simple. If Food Corporation of India will purchase the food grain at 20 rupees, they will not sell it at 20 rupees to beneficiaries. Why? Under NFSA, if you have read the newspaper, they will simply say, under NFSA now, for 1 year, food grains will be provided free of a cost. Right? Under NFSA, National Food Security Act, for 1 year, that is this year, food grains will be provided free of a cost. Free of a cost means what? 0 rupees. Simply 0 rupees. Now look at this. Imagine your Food Corporation of India, you will purchase the food grain at 20 rupees. You will also incur other expenditures such as transportation cost, warehousing cost, etc. Another 10 rupees. So total expenditure that you have incurred is how much? 30 rupees. But will you sell it at 30 or more than 30 rupees to beneficiaries under NFSA? No. You will simply provide it at 0 rupees. You will simply provide it as 0 rupees. Can I call this as a price subsidy? Can I call this as a price subsidy? Right? Is it just associated with food grains? No. There are many other areas where government will purchase something, pay a higher price, but to the beneficiaries, they will provide it at a lower cost. So thereby incurring certain expenditure, that subsidy is called as a price subsidy. That is referred to as a price subsidy. Next one is export subsidy. Next one is the idea of export subsidy. Government of India has provided a lot of export subsidies to promote export of sugar. Not now. Not now, right? Earlier they used to give. If you ask me, sir, why they are not giving sugar subsidy right now, please understand, in the context of sugar, until last year, the supply of sugar in the domestic market was higher. I hope you understand. Supply of sugar in the domestic market was higher. Now, when the supply of sugar becomes higher, the market prices will fall. How do you control these prices? Government used to provide subsidies for the mill owners and export sugar to the international market. Export sugar. For exporting sugar, government used to provide subsidies. But this year, what has happened? Now, this year, there is a concern that supply of sugar in the domestic market is lesser or would be lesser compared to demand. Now, the concern is that if the supply becomes lesser than demand, market prices will go up. It will lead to inflation. Customers will be affected. So, will you keep on providing the subsidies for sugar exports? No. Right now, we are not providing sugar export subsidies. We are actually imposing taxes. We are limiting export of sugar. But is it an example? I hope you understand. Is it an example when government will provide subsidies to promote sugar? It is an export subsidy. What about MEI scheme? What about MEI scheme? Is it not an export subsidy? Right? Answer is simply yes. Right? So, there are various subsidies which are provided by the government to promote more and more exports from the domestic market to the international market. And finally, infrastructure subsidy. Right? Idea of an infrastructure subsidy. So, whenever the government will provide subsidies for the development of infrastructure. Sir, what is this infrastructure? Infrastructure, if I ask you, give me the definition of infrastructure, most of you tell me examples of infrastructure. You will tell me, sir, road, highways, airports, etc. But infrastructure, definition is like this. It is going to provide supporting services. It is going to provide supporting services for growth in the economy, growth and development. I'll give you examples. Have patience. Look at the definition first. What is infrastructure? It is the one which will provide supporting services for the growth and development in the economy. For example, all of you will agree, ports will help in promotion of growth in the Indian economy. What about national highways? What about expressway? Recent example, expressway, right? That is Bangalore-Mysore Expressway, Delhi-Mumbai Expressway. Right? Don't you think these kinds of infrastructure will promote, right? Will basically provide support for the growth and development. So, any example of infrastructure? Any more example? Let's say hospitals. Hospitals will they not provide benefit to the society? Development we will not achieve. What about schools? Right? So, there is a need to promote infrastructure development. Simple. All I'm trying to tell you is there is a need to promote infrastructure development. So, for the promotion of infrastructure development, government will provide a lot of subsidies. For example, there's a scheme by the name of SMAM, Submission on Agriculture Mechanization. Submission on Agriculture Mechanization. All of you heard of drones? The term drone. Let me know. You should have heard of it. I'm pretty sure all of you heard of the term drone. And Government of India now is promoting usage of drone in the agriculture sector. It is promoting usage of drones in the agriculture sector. What is the benefit? Why they are doing it? We'll understand it later. Have patience. But all I'm trying to say is basically this. There is one scheme, Submission on Agricultural Mechanization, under which government will provide subsidies for adoption of drone technology in the agriculture sector. Is it okay? Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. There is one scheme by the name of Submission on Agricultural Mechanization, where government will promote or will provide subsidies for adoption of drone technology in the agriculture sector. Right? Infrastructure, promotion of that will provide subsidies. I'll give you one more example. There is a fund called as Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, AIF, Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. Under Agriculture Infrastructure Fund for development of infrastructure. So what kind of infrastructure? Warehousing capacity, sorting and grading capacity, cold storage, warehousing. For all of this infrastructure, we will provide subsidies. Right? So basically, infrastructure subsidy. Done. So these are some of the classifications. Please be very, very careful. Now what we have done, we have discussed what is subsidy and the classification of subsidy. Now let me go to how subsidies are provided. I'll give you certain examples here. And these are again related to current affairs. Let's go point by point. First one is fertilizer subsidy. First one is the fertilizer subsidy. Now how the fertilizer subsidy is provided? To understand that, let's start with basics of fertilizer. Now all of you will understand when I say for the plant to grow, they require nutrients. Let me know. For the plant to grow, they require nutrients. For example, even when you were a kid or even when I was a child, right? I'm pretty sure you would have experienced our parents giving us Complan, Boost, and some of you might be doing it even today. Why? You basically believe that even now my height will grow. Right? After attaining 20 years, 24 years, my height will grow. I'll become more taller. Right? So argument is simple. In the same way, applied to plants. The plants also require nutrients. From where will we get these nutrients? From the soil. But what if the soil doesn't have sufficient nutrients? In that situation, what we will do is we will apply the nutrients artificially. We'll simply supply these nutrients, and this supply of nutrients is called as fertilizer. Fertilizer is basically nothing but nutrients. So what are the main nutrients which are required? Right? I'll focus on three here. One is nitrogen. Right? One is nitrogen. And in the market, the fertilizer which has the highest amount of nitrogen, 46% nitrogen, is urea. Very often you'll come across in the newspaper, right? Urea supply is increased. Import dependence on urea will come down. What is the urea known for? Urea has highest amount of nitrogen, 46%. Then there is a phosphorus, P. There is a diammonium phosphate. Before you start typing some long form, please look at the bottom of the table. You will see the long form of it. Diammonium phosphate. In diammonium phosphate, the majority of it is phosphorus itself. It has 18% nitrogen and 46% phosphorus. And the third one is potassium. That is K. Muriate of potash. MOP, muriate of potash. In case of muriate of potash, 60% of muriate of potash is potassium itself. Apart from this, there is also sulfur, and you'll have a combination of it, right? NPK is like this. Some nitrogen, some phosphorus, some potassium, and some sulfur. So there are also complex fertilizers which are available in the market. Now, what are the important points regarding this? Follow this very carefully. In case of India, we produce the fertilizers. But all the fertilizers are not produced. Please look at the graphical representation here. What you'll see is, you'll see that in case of India, urea is produced, diammonium phosphate is produced, urea and DAP. And there is also complex fertilizer. What is complex fertilizer? NPK, yes. All the four components, NPK and yes. So one urea is produced, the diammonium phosphate is produced, complex fertilizers are produced. What is missing? Please observe, what is missing? MOP is missing. Can you see that? MOP, muriate of potash, is missing. It simply means muriate of potash is not produced in India. Simple, muriate of potash is not produced. We consume it. Consume it in the sense we use in the agriculture sector. We do not produce a muriate of potash in India. And the reason for that is the raw material that is required to produce a muriate of potash is not available. It's not available. So what we do is whatever is the requirement of muriate of potash, we will import it from the rest of the world. But if you look at the production, here, what you'll observe is simply this. Second point here. Most of the production or a substantial amount of production in case of India, out of all the fertilizers, is urea. Look at the graph and tell me if I'm wrong. Right? So basically, substantial part of the production of fertilizers in case of India is consisting of urea itself. And come to the demand side, that is the consumption side. We are consuming all the fertilizers. We are consuming all these fertilizers. But again, in the consumption, what we'll realize is most of the consumption or a substantial part of the consumption is urea itself. Right? It is import data. Most of the fertilizers which are imported into India, it is again urea itself. So what is the point you need to carry from this? What is the point? One, in case of India, we produce a urea, we produce a diammonium phosphate, we do not produce muriate of potash. Point number two, whatever is the production, a substantial part of the production is a urea itself. Point number three, we import urea, we import a diammonium phosphate, and we also import muriate of potash. But even within the import, if you look at it, a substantial part of the import is again urea. Now, based on both of these pictures, can I say that urea is the highest imported fertilizer and highest consumed fertilizer in India? Let me know. Based on both of the graphs, can I now conclude, right, basically saying that, right, urea is the most imported, most consumed, and most produced fertilizer? Why you'll understand in some time, have patience. Why you'll understand? All of it will understand, have patience. Now, apart from this, let me check. Okay. Now, apart from this, right, what you need to understand is government will provide subsidies for all the three. Government will provide subsidies for all the three. Government will provide subsidies for urea. Government will provide subsidies for diammonium phosphate as well as muriate of potash, MOP, muriate of potash. But next point, how the subsidies are provided, it is different. I repeat, how the subsidies are provided, it is different. What you'll see is for urea, Government of India follows one method to calculate subsidy. For diammonium phosphate and muriate of potash, government will follow a different method to provide subsidy. Right? How the methods are different? Follow this carefully. In case of urea subsidy, government will fix MRP. Remember this. In case of urea, government will fix MRP. What is MRP? Maximum retail price. Government will fix MRP, maximum retail price. And right, have a look at this. The MRP that is decided by the government will be always lower than what is the actual price at which the sellers want to sell it in the market. Let's imagine you are a manufacturer. You have produced one bag of urea. You want to sell it in the market at, let's say, 900 rupees. Just take hypothetical numbers. Do not worry about exact numbers because from 1 year to next year, numbers will keep on changing. So let's say you're a manufacturer. You're producing urea. You want to sell it in the market and you want to earn how much? 900 rupees. You want to get 900, let's say, including profit. But Government of India will tell you, please do not sell it at 900 rupees. Farmers will not be able to purchase it. What you will do is, you will sell it at 300 rupees. In fact, right now the MRP that is decided by the government for urea, it is somewhere around 250, 260, 270 rupees like this. So government will ask you to sell at MRP. Now you will ask the government, right, sir, what about 600 rupees? What about 600 rupees? Right, I want to sell it at 900. You are asking me to sell it at 300. What about 600? Government will tell you, I will give you this 600 rupees. Government will provide this 600 rupees to the manufacturer. This is how in case of urea, subsidies are decided. Subsidies are provided by the government. Is it okay? Is it okay? So what is your price? Government will not allow you to sell it at that price. Government will decide what is the MRP. And because the MRP is lower compared to your selling price, the difference between that will be provided by the government to the manufacturer. Right? That is how urea subsidy is provided. Now next point, in case of diammonium phosphate and muriate of potash. In case of diammonium phosphate and muriate of potash, from 2010, we are following a new subsidy method called as a nutrient-based subsidy. I'll repeat it, from 2010, we are following a new method called as a nutrient-based subsidy. Now, what is this nutrient-based subsidy? Have a look at this. In nutrient-based subsidy, whatever nutrients you are using to manufacture the fertilizer, for those nutrients, subsidies will be provided. All of you know now, what is a fertilizer? Fertilizer is basically nothing but nutrients. Any problem with this? Let me know. What is a fertilizer? Fertilizer is nothing but nutrients. So, Government of India will notify if you are using nitrogen, 1 kg, how much subsidy will be provided. If you are going to use sulfur for 1 kg, how much subsidy will be provided. Right? If you are going to use, let's say, phosphorus, potassium for 1 kg, how much subsidy will be provided. Government will notify, government will decide it. And I've given a data here, please do not buy heart the data. Please don't waste your time, I'm only saying that. I've given it just so that you can understand it. Please do not buy heart, the number will change, and I'm sure it has already changed. Do not waste your time, do not buy heart it. But how does government calculate it? How does government calculate it? Let's say hypothetically, you are producing 100 kgs of diammonium phosphate. Let's say hypothetically, you are producing 100 kgs of diammonium phosphate. In case of diammonium phosphate, the most important components are one, nitrogen, I've written it here, have a look at this, and the second one is phosphorus. One is nitrogen, second one is phosphorus. That is 18% of this is nitrogen, 46% of this is phosphorus. Which means for every 100 kgs of diammonium phosphate you have manufactured, you will be consuming 18 kgs of nitrogen and you'll be consuming 46 kgs of phosphorus. Now let's say hypothetically 18 rupees. For nitrogen, we have decided for every 1 kg, government will give you 18 rupees. So for 18 kgs, how much subsidy you will get? For every 1 kg of phosphorus, government will give you 14 rupees. You have consumed 46 kgs, how much subsidy you will get? So calculate it. For every 100 kgs of fertilizer, right, government will provide you 958 rupees. Again, please understand my point. I'll repeat it. Do not buy hard the calculation. Waste of your time. Why? Numbers have been changed by the government already. Numbers have been changed. Do not waste your time. But is the logic okay here? What is the logic? Whatever nutrients you are consuming, government will notify subsidy for those nutrients. And government will provide subsidies based on the consumption of nutrients that you have done to manufacture the fertilizer. I'll give you one more example here. The muriate of potash, although it is not manufactured, but it is imported. So for importers, government will provide subsidies now. So have a look at this. In the context of muriate of potash, 60% of muriate of potash is potassium. Right, 60% of muriate of potash is potassium. And for every 1 kg, let's say government will provide, for every 1 kg of potassium, government will provide 10 rupees subsidy. Now, if you are consuming 60 kgs of potassium, 60 into 10 rupee, it will be 600 rupees. Done. So this is how, based on the nutrients that you are consuming, government will fix certain or notify certain amount of subsidy. They will provide subsidies to you based on these numbers. This is called as a nutrient-based subsidy, NBS. Now, based on this discussion, you tell me which is better. Is a urea subsidy better or nutrient-based subsidy better system? Let me know. Right, I'll repeat it again. You have seen both of the systems. You have seen how urea subsidy is decided, how the diammonium phosphate and muriate of potash subsidies are decided. Which one do you think is more logical? Urea subsidy or nutrient-based subsidy? You'll have to go with second one. Please go with second one. Some of you are saying urea subsidy. How urea subsidy is better? Right? A nutrient-based subsidy is much better. Why? Based on what you are using, government is giving you subsidy. Based on what you are using, government is giving subsidy to you. Now, some of you ask, sir, in that case, why is government of India not shifting urea to nutrient-based subsidy? There are very, very difficult reasons for this. Very difficult reasons. One, politically it will not work out. But you don't write this in the exam. Do not write political answers in the exam. Politically it will not work out. Why? Historically, and I told you, nutrient-based subsidy was introduced in 2010. So historically, we have been providing subsidies based on urea methodology itself. So farmers in India are attuned to, or basically are used to, the methodology of urea subsidy, because they will get a lot of subsidy in case of urea compared to nutrient-based subsidy as well as a diammonium phosphate subsidy. Now imagine you will change the subsidy regime to nutrient-based subsidy. Don't you think the price of the urea will start increasing? I hope you understand. The price of the urea in the market will start increasing. It will start moving upwards like this. Do you think farmers will be happy with that? Do you think farmers will be happy with that? Of course, on the side of the government, we are optimizing subsidies. We are rationalizing subsidies. That is what we are doing. But do you think farmers will be happy with that? But more importantly, right, remember the next point. Think of all of these. More than 85% of the farmers in case of India are small and marginal. More than 85% are small and marginal. Sir, what do you mean by small and marginal? Whenever you talk about farmers like this, cultivation, you divide the cultivation in different ways like this. First one is marginal farmer. What do you mean by marginal farmer? Whenever the farmer will cultivate on a piece of land up to 1 hectare. Up to 1 hectare. Whenever the farmer will cultivate on a piece of land up to 1 hectare, it is called as marginal. Then there is a small farmer up to 2 hectares. Up to 2 hectares, more than 1 hectare, up to 2 hectares. Then there is a medium farmer. Some of the books or some of the classifications will also have semi-medium. Before medium, they will write a semi-medium. Semi-medium means more than 2 hectares and up to 4 hectares. Up to 4 hectares. Medium is up to 10 hectares. And finally, large farmer, more than 10 hectares. More than 10 hectares. More than 10 hectares. This is the classification used. But what you will realize is, most of the farmers are here. Small and marginal. Now, if most of the farmers, that is more than 85%, in fact, it is somewhere around 86%. So, if most of the farmers are small and marginal, you think of it and let me know, do you think they will have sufficient amount of money to purchase fertilizers at market prices? Point one. Think of it. Do you think they will have sufficient amount of money to purchase the fertilizers at market prices? Now, some of you will say, so it doesn't matter. I want the government to control its revenue expenditure. We will sell it at market prices. You do that. If the farmers will purchase the fertilizer at market prices, you tell me what will happen to food prices in the market. I hope you understand. If the farmers will purchase fertilizers at market prices, what will happen to food grain prices in the market? Food grain prices will go up. Will it not contribute to inflation? Will it not contribute to inflation? Of course, yes. And always remember this. Whenever you try to increase the prices of these kind of commodities, which are majorly consumed in the market, it will lead to black marketing. I hope you understand. Whenever you're trying to increase the prices of these kind of products, which are consumed, which are in high demand in the market, it will always lead to black market. For example, some of you might have this kind of a doubt when you're reading about gold. Right? You look at the gold prices and say that, okay, so taxes on the gold are very low. On some of the commodities, we are taxing 12%, we are taxing 18%, 28%, etc. But on gold, we are charging 3%. We are charging this percentage. Why? Why is that so? The problem is this, my dear. If you increase the prices, because of your taxation, if the prices of the gold will start increasing, don't you think there'll be smuggling of the gold? Think of it and let me know. Right? Don't you think there'll be smuggling of the gold? There'll be black marketing of the gold. Right? Let me give a very simple example. Sir, how can that happen? How many of you know that gold prices in other markets are much lower than gold prices in India? Right? For example, if you're going to, let's say, Dubai, if your friend is going to Dubai, if your cousin is going to Dubai, first thing that you will demand is, get me gold. Bring the gold for me, purchase gold and bring it to India, etc. Why do you think you're doing that? Gold prices are lower there. Gold prices are very low there. So if you increase the market prices in India because of your taxes, people will start smuggling them. People will start black marketing all of it. That is the precise reason. I hope you understand. Everything makes economic sense. There's a political argument also, but everything will make certain economic sense as well. Right? So come back to the argument here. Many will simply say, yes, economic sense is, sir, we should shift the urea into the nutrient-based subsidy. But the problem is, if you shift it to nutrient-based subsidy, the market prices will go up. The prices of these fertilizers will start going up. It will have an impact on small and marginal farmers. It will have an impact because the smuggling can increase, the black marketing can increase of the fertilizer. Right? That is the reason even today we know it is not sufficient or it is not efficient. This methodology of deciding urea subsidy, it is not efficient, we know that. But even today we are following the same system. There is a fertilizer control order. Please remember the name of it. Fertilizer control order. The government of India, under its executive authority, fertilizer control order, will notify fertilizer subsidy in this way. That is for urea, this methodology, and for DAP as well as MOP under the NBS, nutrient-based subsidy. Then this is a basic idea of how the subsidies are provided. But again, within this, if the UPSC wants to confuse you, really wants to confuse you, they can ask you which is the ministry which will provide the subsidies. Right? Which is the ministry which will provide the subsidies. Please remember this. Because if I were to ask you which of the following ministry will provide the subsidy, implement the subsidy, administer the fertilizer subsidy, and if the first one is Ministry of Agriculture, I'm pretty sure most of you will jump and round off agriculture. Right? Most of you will simply jump and round off agriculture sector. Initially it was Agriculture Ministry. Right? Now it is under the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. It is under the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. Remember this. Right? So it is the Ministry of the Chemicals and Fertilizers which will announce and administer fertilizer subsidy in India. But what is the issue with all of this? Right? Have a look at the next point also. How much is the fertilizer subsidy provided? Now let me give you a basic idea here. Right? Why it has happened, etc. Let me give you a basic idea. Now all of you know that we import a lot of fertilizers. Anybody has a problem with this? I've proved it. I've taken the data from this year's economic survey. I've put it here. We will import a lot of fertilizers. Now you tell me, because of Russia and the Ukraine war, what do you think will happen to fertilizer prices in the market? Forget about domestic market, international market. What will happen to fertilizer prices in the international market? Fertilizer prices will start increasing. Natural gas prices have increased. Fertilizer, that's the final product, prices have increased. Raw material prices have increased. Now you will import them into India. What will happen to the price of the import? Prices will be high. Prices will be high. Now tell me, you are the Prime Minister. Around 7 o'clock, you are the Prime Minister. Will you allow the prices of the fertilizer to remain at higher level in the domestic market? Will you allow that to happen? And some of you might simply say, yes, sir, I will allow that to happen. Then will the farmers be quiet? Right? So what you will do is, you will try to control the prices of these fertilizers by providing more subsidy. You will provide more and more subsidy for these fertilizers. Now look at the trend and let me know, does it make sense or not? Right? 2021 pandemic, thanks to that, disruption has happened. 21-22, again don't say sir, in 21-22 it has fallen down. It is only up to December. Only for 3 quarters the data has been provided. It is also higher. Current financial year, the total amount of fertilizer subsidy is expected to be more than 2 lakh crore rupees. More than 2 lakh crore rupees. Right? Just to give you the basic idea of what has actually happened, in the budget, Government of India had announced 1.05 lakh crore rupees worth of fertilizer subsidy. 1.05 lakh crore rupees worth of subsidies, fertilizer subsidy. And now it is almost guaranteed. We expect it to be more than 2 lakh crore rupees. More than 2 lakh crore rupees, almost doubled. Don't you think it will put a lot of pressure on the revenue expenditure, revenue deficit, fiscal deficit? Right? That is a basic idea. That's a basic idea. Please remember this. There are so many internal factors as well as external factors which are affecting the fertilizer subsidies provided by the government. Okay, so that is the idea here. Remember this. Couple of more points here. Agriculture urea is most subsidized, most produced, most consumed, most imported, most physically controlled. I'm pretty sure all of you will understand all the points except one, physically controlled. What do you mean physically controlled? Government of India has a guidelines how the urea has to be moved, how the urea has to be distributed in different regions, etc. like this. Physically controlling means how the movement of fertilizers will happen, how they are going to be distributed, etc. That's a basic idea, physical controls. Now, in case of a diammonium phosphate and muriate of potash, government will allow the companies to determine the prices. They will allow the companies to determine the prices. Whereas, in case of urea, government will fix MRP. In case of urea, government will fix MRP. In case of DAP and MOP, companies are allowed, right, to determine the prices. Now, in case of urea, I've told you this, provides a subsidy for domestic producers. It is the same for both urea as well as the DAP and MOP. Provides a subsidy even for the importers. Even for the importers, government will provide subsidy. Imports are canalized. Imports are canalized. What do you mean by imports are canalized? Remember this carefully. Who is allowed to import urea? Government will decide. I'll repeat it. Right? Who is going to be importing urea in India? Government of India will decide. As of now, these are the agencies which are allowed to import and sell urea in India. That is basically IPL, India Potash Limited. And when I say IPL, right, many of you shifted to tomorrow's discussion, right? So IPL, Rashtriya Chemicals and Fertilizers, RCF, and NFL, National Fertilizers Limited. In fact, this was there a couple of days ago in Business Line newspaper. Business Line newspaper, this was there very, very recently. Right? Why? The India Potash Limited, Government of India has extended the tenure. Right? Government will decide for how many years you will import, how much you will import, government will decide. So for India Potash Limited, that tenure has been extended by one more year. One more year. That was there in the newspaper. Please be very careful. So where it was there, I read Hindu from first page to last page. It was not mentioned as far as I know in Hindu. In Business Line, it was mentioned. Okay, so imports are canalized. Again, I repeat, canalized means government will decide who will be importing. Next one, movement of the fertilizers is directed. Again, that is the basic idea of physically controlling. That is, government will direct which fertilizer has to be sold, how much fertilizer has to be sold. Right? The government will decide that. That is movement of the fertilizers. Done? Right? So these are the points. But what is the issue with fertilizer subsidies? Let's go one by one. What is the issue with fertilizer subsidies? I have not written it, but can I by default say one of the issue is higher revenue expenditure? Let me know. One of the issue with the fertilizer subsidy is higher revenue expenditure of government of India. By default, you write it. Second issue is many of the times the fertilizers are black marketed. Many of the times the fertilizers are black marketed. Now, what is this idea of black marketing? It is an economic activity beyond permitted government channel or beyond government permitted methods. So, what do you mean by this? Let me explain to you. Imagine you want to purchase gold. And you want to purchase gold. What is the method which is allowed by the government? A jewelry maker is there. You can go to the jewelry maker, pay the amount of money, pay the taxes, right, and purchase gold. All of you agree this is the method that is allowed by the government. But imagine the government will impose a higher tax on gold. Price of the gold will start increasing. I have gone to Dubai, hypothetically, I have gone to Dubai and right, I smuggled a lot of gold into India. I brought a lot of gold into India, smuggled, right, illegal. Now, in the domestic market, the price of the gold could be 60,000 rupees per 10 grams. I will sell to you at 50,000 rupees per 10 grams. Many of you ask me, sir, what is the advantage for you? I would have imported gold at 20,000 rupees per 10 gram. Is it okay? Does it make sense or not? I've smuggled the gold, and when I purchase the gold, I've purchased it at 20,000 rupees per 10 grams. I will sell to you at 50,000 rupees per 10 grams. It is an advantage for you also because rather than paying 60k, now you're paying 50k. But you tell me, is this method allowed by the government? Let me know. Is this method allowed by the government? Is this channel of sales provided by the government, promoted by the government? Answer is no. This is illegal. You're not supposed to do this. Can I call this as black marketing? Can I call this as a black market? So, but teach fertilizer. Let's say fertilizer. Imagine I'm a shopkeeper. I'm supposed to distribute fertilizers to you. But for a fact I know, there is a shortage of fertilizers in the market. So what I will do, rather than selling all the fertilizers at subsidized prices to farmers, I will provide some of the fertilizer bags to you. Now you will go to the farmers and sell it at a higher price to farmers. Are you not making a profit from this? Am I not making a profit from this? Does it happen? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, it happens. You might have not seen it, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It happens. It actually happens. Right? Why? So some of you ask, why will the farmer purchase the fertilizer? The problem is this. Imagine a farmer has sown a seed. The seed has been sown. Now, don't you think farmer will require fertilizer? Can the farmer say, I will wait for the prices to fall? Can the farmer say, I will wait for more supply to happen in the market? Of course, no. You have sown the seed. If you do not provide the fertilizer now at the growth stage, growth will become stunted. Many of the crops might even fail to grow. So farmers don't have any option but to purchase from the black market at higher prices. Does it happen generally in case of India? Yes, it happens. Remember it. Okay. Next one, inefficient subsidy that is provided for the domestic manufacturers. Best example, urea subsidy. Urea subsidy is not a very efficient methodology. It is an inefficient methodology. Third one, disparity in the usage. Disparity in the usage. What do you mean by disparity? As per the scientific community, I've given a data here. I'll come back to this, don't worry. As per the scientific community, have a look at this. Overall usage in India, right? Overall average usage of the fertilizer should be in the ratio of 4:2:1. That is average, right? How many units of nitrogen you're supposed to use? How many units of phosphorus you're supposed to use? Average is 4:2:1, right? NPK for NPK respectively. But in case of India, it's not 4:2:1. It is a 6.1:2.5:1. And again, this will keep on changing. You don't have to by heart this number. Next year, by the time you write the exam, this will be different. But what is the inference you need to draw? Look at the data and let me know. Are we not consuming more than required nitrogen? Let me know. Have a look at this. Are we not consuming more than required nitrogen? Nitrogenous basis fertilizers, we are not using it. We are actually abusing it. We are using it to a very, very great extent. Now, why? What is the reason, sir? Why are we using more and more nitrogen? I will write urea on one side, DAP and MOP on the other side. Generally, per bag of DAP and MOP, it is somewhere around 1,000 rupees. Somewhere around 1,000 plus rupees. After subsidy, by the way. And for urea, it is somewhere around 270 rupees. Now, you tell me which one the farmers will use more. Simple idea. Right? Why are we using more and more of urea? Here is the reason. Urea price is 270 per bag. For DAP and MOP, the price is at least 1,000 rupees. The farmers will use which of the two groups more? Obviously, urea. So, consumption of urea is very, very high in India. There is a problem. It will cause pollution. Soil pollution will be caused. And under ecology and environment, we'll come across one more problem here. Imagine a lot of nitrogen is there in the soil. Rainfall will happen. Right? When the water will flow, nitrogen will be carried, and this nitrogen will get deposited in ponds. It will get deposited in the ponds. You have studied about the same thing even in your college. Right? So, a lot of nitrogen will get deposited in the ponds. Do you remember the concept of algal blooms? Do you remember the concept of algal blooms? Right? A lot of nitrogen content in the water will increase. certain type of algae will grow, and other crops, or let's say whatever other ecosystem we have in the pond will be destroyed. Again, even if you don't remember, or some of you simply say, sir, I'm not from a science background, I'm from a commerce background. Don't worry. When you study ecology and environment, I'm definitely will come across this. Lot of nitrogen in the pond will lead to a growth of algal blooms. There's a process called as eutrophication. Don't worry, even now, don't worry. You will study it under ecology and environment. So now, is it okay? Higher nitrogen consumption has a problem in India. It is causing pollution. The revenue expenditure of the government will be very, very high, etc., etc. Right? That is the issue. That is the issue in case of India. Okay. So this is a fertilizer as a concept, fertilizer subsidy, how government will provide, and what are the problems with the fertilizer subsidy. Now, government has to do something regarding this. Government has to do something regarding this. So what reforms have been implemented by the government? First one, we have implemented direct benefit transfer in fertilizers. We have introduced the concept of direct benefit transfer in fertilizers. Understand this carefully. Some of you get confused. Now, before I start a direct benefit transfer or DBT, first and foremost, long form of DBT is given here. Please have a look at it. Long form of DBT is given here. Direct benefit transfer. Point number 2, do not confuse between direct subsidy and direct benefit transfer. Understand this carefully. Do not be confused between direct subsidy and direct benefit transfer. So what do you mean by that? Are they not one and the same? No. Right? Direct subsidy is a part of a direct benefit transfer. Direct benefit transfer, it is a name of an initiative of the government. Point number 1, it is an initiative. It is a program of government of India, which was introduced post 2013 by the government. Now, under the direct benefit transfer, what we do is, we will try to identify the beneficiary. We will try to identify the beneficiary, and whether the beneficiary is supposed to receive a cash subsidy or a kind of subsidy, we will try to ensure that the right beneficiary will be getting this subsidy. I'll repeat it again, understand this carefully. What is the objective of a direct benefit transfer? It is an initiative of government of India. Under this initiative, 1, we will try to identify who is the right beneficiary. And once we identify who is the right beneficiary, whether the beneficiary is getting a cash subsidy or a kind of subsidy, doesn't matter. We will try to ensure that it is the right beneficiary which will get the subsidy. Right? I'll give you examples. PM Kisan, it is under direct benefit transfer. PM Kisan, it is under the direct benefit transfer. And right, look at the picture and let me know, is PM Kisan a cash-based subsidy or not? Is it a direct subsidy or not? Right? Answer is yes. What about the National Food Security Act? What about National Food Security Act? Under National Food Security Act, right? I hope you remember this. Yesterday also I told you about this. Under National Food Security Act, we don't provide cash. We do not provide cash subsidy to the beneficiary. What we do is, we will provide food grains at subsidized prices. We'll provide food grains at subsidized prices. Right? So even NFSA is under direct benefit transfer. Now, anybody has a problem regarding this? Anybody has an issue regarding this? Let me know. Direct subsidy is basically a subsidy. Cash is provided to the beneficiary. Right? We are going to provide cash to the beneficiary. Whereas a direct benefit transfer simply means we are trying to identify who is the beneficiary, and we are trying to ensure that either a cash or a kind of subsidy is provided. Right? That is the basic idea for DBT. Now, come to this. Let me go back. Let's come to this. We have introduced a DBT in fertilizers. We have introduced a DBT in fertilizers. Now, any other sector where we have introduced DBT? National Food Security Act. Right? LPG subsidy. Right? In case of LPG subsidy, remember this. Government of India introduced a scheme in case of LPG subsidy, that is basically PAHAL scheme. Name of the scheme is PAHAL, Pratyakshadarshi Hastantarit Labh. Or else it is also famously referred to as direct benefit transfer in LPG sector. Direct benefit transfer in the LPG sector. National Food Security Act, it is there under DBT. Fertilizer subsidy, it is there under DBT. I'll show you certain data. More than 300 schemes. More than 300 schemes are there under DBT. Just to remember a couple of them, and we have discussed most of them, so it should be easier for you. Now focus on this. How DBT in fertilizer sector will work out. How it will work out. Focus, it's slightly technical, slightly different compared to other systems. Earlier, when there was right DBT not used, there was no usage of a DBT. How fertilizers were provided, how subsidy was provided. Imagine I am the producer. I will produce fertilizer. Either it is urea or it is a DAP, doesn't matter. I produce fertilizer. I will supply the fertilizer to the shops. Now these fertilizers will be sold to the farmers, and government used to provide subsidy to me. But there's a problem with this system. There's a problem. What is the problem? You tell me you are the government. Under non-DBT methodology, anyway, you can find out who is purchasing the fertilizer. Let me know. Please look at the system and let me know. You are the government. You will give the subsidy to me. Sir, why will I give the subsidy? I will show the receipt to you. I will come to you and I'll show the bill like this. See, last month I've sold 100 kgs of urea. So for every 1 kg, you're supposed to give me 600 rupees. So give me right 6,000 rupees like this. So I will submit the documents to you. You will give the subsidies to me. Now, is there any way for you to find out whether it is the farmer or not who has received the fertilizer subsidy? Start answering, start participating. Only then the subject becomes very easy for you. Now, some of you ask me, sir, if I'm not going to sell it to the farmer, who else are we going to sell? Industries. Even industries use fertilizers. Now, let me know, right? Some of you will be confused. Sir, industries, how they will use fertilizer? Can I say fertilizers are nothing but chemicals? Let me know. Can I simply say fertilizers are nothing but chemicals? Yes or not? These are nothing but chemicals. Nitrogen is a compound. Nitrogenous compounds are there, right? Phosphorus compounds are there. Right? I'll give you an example. Explosive industries. Explosive industries. I don't think explosive industries will require phosphorus. Matchstick. Right? How many of you know this matchstick? Right? What is that? Right? The red phosphorus. So argument is simple here. Right? Use the day-to-day economics, you'll understand all of it. So the chemicals, that is nothing but fertilizers, can be used in industries, can be used in agriculture sector. But when it is supplied, when these chemicals are supplied to industries, no subsidies are provided. And they should not be provided also. Why? These are consumed by industries. But now have a look at it. Imagine I'm selling phosphorus as a fertilizer. Is there a possibility? Is there a possibility that rather than selling it to farmer, I will sell it to my friend who has a, let's say, matchstick making unit? Can I do that? Of course, there's possibilities there. But how as a government you'll be able to find out whether this fertilizer is going to the farmer or to, let's say, industries? Under non-DBT, it is not possible. Under non-DBT structure, it is not possible. That is the reason government has introduced the DBT structure now. What will happen under the DBT now? Have a look at this. Same, I'm producing. I will transfer the fertilizer to the shop. Now the shopkeeper will sell, right? The shop which is selling fertilizer will sell it to the farmer, but with one change now. With one change. Whenever the farmers will purchase, anybody for that matter, will purchase these fertilizers, they will have to provide their Aadhaar credentials. They will have to provide their Aadhaar credentials, or they will have to provide Kisan credit card number. Now imagine I will go to the fertilizer shop, I will provide my Aadhaar credential, for example, thumbprint. In the system, my Aadhaar number is there and I'm already identified as a farmer. So I will provide my thumbprint, a receipt is generated and the receipt says I'm a farmer. Now, does Government of India ascertain, right, is there a policy for the government to find out that the fertilizer subsidy is going only to the farmers? Let me know, right? So the government will provide a subsidy to the manufacturing company, but this has to be maintained. The shopkeeper, whenever they will sell it, they will take data, they will feed the data, a central server data is maintained. Government can easily find out who is purchasing how much, what kind of fertilizers is used, etc., etc. But again, is there a scope of misuse? In every system, there's a scope of misuse. But you tell me, as a civil servant, please tell me, is a DBT better than non-DBT? This is how you need to approach all of this, right? Is there a problem in this? Of course, yes, there's a problem, right? So what kind of problem? A farmer is there, he's not cultivating anything. He's not cultivating anything, right? And I'm owning, let's say, an industry. I will pay 200 rupees to the farmer and I'll pay him to go to the shop, purchase fertilizer. Give it to me. Possible? Of course, yes, it's possible, right? Always misuses are possible. But as a civil servant, your answer should be, sir, we'll try to do something, try to plug the loophole. I'll try to connect to a current affairs. Let me know, does it make sense or not? There's a scheme by the name of Manrega. Or have you heard of it? Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Under Manrega, last year it was found that there is abuse of the system. Abuse means what? Let's say hypothetically, I'm a wage worker. Under Manrega, I'm supposed to work for 100 days. Government will pay me wages. I will not work. I'll simply put my attendance. You're the person who is supposed to oversee that, right? I will not work. I'll simply put the attendance. I will get the wages. Some I will give to you. So remaining I'll keep. This was the abuse of the system. I hope you understand. This was abuse of the system. Possibility of leakage, of course, yes. Now, what is the connection here? After I give a break, not now. After I give a break, please go to Google and search for new attendance mechanism for Manrega. This is there in today's newspaper, by the way. Of course, not in Hindu. That is the problem. That's a problem with Hindu, right? So there is a new attendance management system in Manrega, right? So are we not trying to plug the leakages? I hope you understand, right? Are we not trying to plug the leakages in the system? Right? So argument should be always like this. The DBT is a better than non-DBT structure. Is there a scope of misuse or abuse? Of course, yes. People will always try to do that. Right? That is the reason you as a civil servant, right, or as an aspirant, you'll have to recommend that, okay, we will have to do this in order to plug the leakages. Done? Okay. So DBT as well as non-DBT. But have a look at this. Let me ask you one more simple question. Have you come across CPI-AL in the last week in the newspapers? Let me check whether you're reading newspapers or not. Have you come across a CPI-AL in the last 1 week in the newspapers? If you say no, or if you sit quietly, I will realize you are not reading. I'll simply realize you are not reading. Why you should have come across it? Manrega wages were revised by the government. And what was the parameter used by the government to revise the Manrega wages? CPI-AL. In fact, while discussing CPI-AL, I told you this. Right? Generally, usage of CPI-AL is to revise the Manrega wages, and last week it was there in the newspaper. Please read. Okay, yes, come back to this. Right, so DBT as well as non-DBT. This is one reform. Which has been implemented. Farmer will identify by using Aadhaar or Kisan credit card. Subsidy will be credited directly to the manufacturer's account. It is estimated that with this, at least 20% of subsidy can be saved. Because now diversion will not take place to industries. You are ensuring that farmers are purchasing fertilizers. And that is the idea for DBT in fertilizer. Now, before you ask me, many of you will start asking me, sir, why is that? Government is not directly transferring the subsidy into the farmer's account. Lot of difficulties. For example, imagine you have a land, but you're sitting in a city, you're preparing for UPSC. So will you be able to cultivate on that land? No. You will give the land to me, I'm cultivating on the land. Now, how will the government of India identify to whom to provide this subsidy? You let me know. Right? How will government of India identify to whom to provide this fertilizer subsidy? Don't you think there is a lot of issue here? If I simply take the land record, you are the owner, and if the government will transfer fertilizer subsidy into your account, will you give it to me? Will you provide that fertilizer subsidy to me? You will not give it. You'll simply keep it and you will enjoy. And so there are a lot of issues in terms of identification, transfer, etc., etc. That's the reason under DBT in fertilizer, even today, Government of India will provide fertilizer subsidy to the manufacturer and ensure that the manufacturer will sell the fertilizer at subsidized prices to the farmers. This is one very important reform. Please be very careful. There are other reforms also. For example, right, when I discuss agriculture sector, I will talk about nano DAP and nano urea. Another very, very important reform in agriculture sector that is specifically related to fertilizers, nano DAP and nano urea. Right? There is one cooperative organization in India, IFFCO. There's one cooperative, IFFCO. IFFCO has been allowed by Government of India to produce a nano DAP as well as a nano urea and sell it to farmers. We are doing that. In fact, nano urea, we have already started selling it in Gujarat. Farmers in Gujarat, they have already started using nano DAP. Okay, so that is basically the idea. Again, don't worry, sir. Why? What is the advantage of it? Right, etc., etc. I'll discuss it, but have patience. Okay, DBT. Let me focus on DBT now. Direct benefit transfer. Right, what are we trying to do under DBT? One, we are identifying and targeting the beneficiaries. We will be having transparency in the fund transfers to the beneficiaries. We will be plugging the leakages which are there in the system, right? Rather than giving the subsidies to, let's say, the unintended, right, consumers in the market, we'll try to ensure that the benefits will go to only required beneficiaries. It will promote accountability in the system. It will increase the efficiency in the delivery process, and it will also improve the effectiveness of the schemes. Through timely implementation, it will improve the effectiveness of all of these schemes. Done. Now, these are the objectives, or these are the functions of a direct benefit transfer. Now, how many schemes are we covering? This is from the economic survey. This is from the current year's economic survey, right? Recently published economic survey, right? Again, government published most recent data, right? The number of DBT schemes, please have a look at it. The number of DBT schemes over a period of time, we have kept on changing it, right? Like I've told you already, more than 300 schemes are covered under the DBT now. And the total amount of funds which have been transferred under DBT for 2023, it is more than 3.8 lakh crore rupees. In that, how much amount has gone to the schemes where cash subsidies provided? 1.7 lakh crore rupees. And remaining more than 2 lakh crore rupees has gone right in those schemes where benefits are provided directly, not cash. And right, what is the number of eligible beneficiaries? What is the number of eligible beneficiaries as of now? 159, right? Number of 159 crore beneficiaries are there. Now, some of you try to find a loophole in all of this. Please understand, more than 300 schemes. One beneficiary can be counted in multiple schemes like this. And because I know, generally when I show this data, people will try to find a problem with this. They'll say, sir, population of India is 130 crore rupees, but you are giving 159 crore people are covered under DBT. How is that possible? My dear, a farmer can be covered under fertilizer subsidy as well as PM Kisan scheme. So I'll count it as a 2 beneficiary. I hope you understand. I'll count it as 2 beneficiaries. So that is how total number of beneficiaries under the DBT schemes are 159 crore. Okay, 159 crore. Okay, so this is the discussion regarding DBT. I'll discuss more. Don't worry, I'll discuss more. Now again, there is one more question: why the number of beneficiaries, why the number of schemes are going down? Right. Simple answer to that. Don't you see that government of India many times will merge one scheme in another scheme? Let me know. Right, the number of schemes will keep on changing. Why? One scheme can be discontinued. A scheme can be subsumed under one more scheme. Can I give you a current affairs example? Until last year, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana was one scheme. Right, the National Food Security Act was one more scheme. So what has the government of India done? Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, it has been brought under NFSA. So rather than having 2 schemes, now we'll have only 1 scheme. So restructuring will take place. Discontinuation will happen. So many things will happen. Okay. So this is the data regarding DBT. Should you by heart the whole data? Please don't do that. Next year, before you write the exam, I'm pretty sure, 100% sure, government will give the data, updated data in one or the other document. Use that. Now, apart from this, how DBT is implemented? How are we implemented? How are we implementing direct benefit transfer? These are, right, have a look at this. These are the very important points. The direct benefit transfers are implemented using JAM initiative. Government uses JAM initiative. Right, I'll come to this. Government uses JAM Trinity or JAM initiative. Government will also utilize, right, let's say digital banking. Even digital banking will help Government of India promote direct benefit transfer. Government of India will promote the DBT even through the concept of bank sathis, etc. Sir, how? Let me explain it to you. Let me explain to you. Follow this very carefully. Point number 1. What is this JAM initiative or JAM Trinity? JAM simply stands for Janadhan Aadhar Mobile. Janadhan, Aadhar and Mobile. Now, point number 1. Can I simply say almost all of the population in India? Right. Point number 1. Almost all the population in India has been covered under Aadhar. Has been covered under Aadhar, which means Government of India has Aadhar database of everybody in India. Point 1. Sir, what is the use of Aadhar database? Government will use the Aadhar database to find out who is the beneficiary. Simple. Government will use the Aadhar database to find out who is the beneficiary. For example, right, just now I told you DBT in fertilizer. Can I use Aadhar database to find out who are the farmers? Of course, yes. So first step under the implementation of JAM is, right, identification. First step is identification. Now, once you've identified the beneficiaries, there will be 2 types of beneficiaries here. That is, 1, those beneficiaries which are covered, or those schemes where cash benefit is provided. I hope you understand. Those are kind of schemes where cash benefit is provided, cash subsidy is provided. For example, PM Kisan scheme. PM Kisan scheme, or for that matter, even LPG subsidy. LPG subsidy. Now, what do you think is better? Going to the home of the beneficiaries, transferring cash in their hand, or asking them to open a bank account, you will transfer the funds into the bank account. Don't you think the second system is much more better? I'll come to the problem also. Don't worry. Don't you think the second system is much better? So what you will do? You will ask these beneficiaries to open bank account. Now, to open the bank account, earlier there was a problem. What was the problem? You will have to have a minimum balance in the bank account. You will have to provide a lot of documentation to the bank, etc. Government says we have done away with all of it. How? Janadhan Yojana. Right? We will do away with all these conditions because poor people are not able to open the bank account. So Government of India launched Janadhan Yojana accounts. Under Janadhan Yojana accounts, earlier we have discussed this, introduction signature is not needed. Zero balance account. Right? And all you need to have is Aadhar, you can open a Janadhan Yojana account. So now government will promote opening of Janadhan Yojana accounts and transfer this cash benefit into these accounts. So first we will identify, now they will open the bank account. Now the beneficiaries will be able to withdraw these subsidies. If it is a cash-based subsidy, cash-based scheme, you will transfer the subsidy into the bank account. The beneficiary will withdraw this subsidy from the bank account. Either they will go to the bank itself, physical bank, withdraw the money. You don't have to go to bank itself. Bank sathis are there, banking correspondents are there. Go to them and withdraw the funds. So there are different ways through which government is using the JAM initiative, Janadhan Aadhar Mobile initiative, to implement a direct benefit transfer. This will work out in case the government is providing cash subsidy. What about kind of subsidies? What about the kind subsidies? Simple. In case of kind subsidies, cash is not transferred. So bank account requirement is not there. I hope you understand. For example, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. Let me know. Either you write PMGKAY, NFSA, etc. Is there a condition that you should have a bank account under this? Anybody? Right, sir, I've read it here. I've read it there. Anywhere have you seen that you want to get free food grains, open a bank account? No, you don't require a bank account. So I will use Aadhar. And I will identify the beneficiary. Now this beneficiary will go to a shop, fair price shop, provide the thumbprint, and the shop owner, that is a fair price shop owner, will provide 5 kgs of food grain to the beneficiary. That's it. So that is how DBT, direct benefit transfer, will be utilized by the government either to implement, right, a cash-based subsidy or a non-cash-based subsidy or a non-cash-based subsidy. Done. This is basically the concept of direct benefit transfer. Right. So can I simply say this system is much more efficient compared to earlier system? Beneficiaries can be identified. Beneficiaries can be targeted. Revenue expenditure of the government of India will come down. Implementation of the schemes will be improved. Accountability of various participants will also be higher here. Right. These are certain very, very important points regarding direct benefit transfers. Now, is there any problem related to this? Any problem related to DBT? Of course, yes. There will be certain issues always. For example, I said, first we'll identify the beneficiary, then bank account will be opened. Now, how many of you think all the villages in India have bank branches? Have a look at this. How many of you think that how many of these or all the villages have bank branches in India? Answer is no, by the way. You should not think so much. It's a fact. It's very logical also. Right? No, all the villages do not have bank branches. Now imagine I'm a Manrega worker. Right? I'm a Manrega worker. I'm supposed to receive wages, let's say 200 rupees. Now, bank is there, bank is 10 kilometers away, which means I will have to travel 10 kilometers and again come back 10 kilometers. Will it cost me or not? Think of it. Will it have certain cost associated with that? Of course, yes. Cost is associated with it. Now, some of you will say, sir, use mobile banking. Of course, yes. Right? Some of you simply say, use mobile banking. Now, you're simply assuming that I'm digitally literate. I hope you understand. You're simply assuming that, one, I'm digitally literate. Digitally literate means you know how, right? You're assuming that I know how to operate a smartphone, how to operate all of this, how to use online banking. And that's a far-fetched idea. And moreover, you're assuming that I should have a smartphone. I hope you understand. You're assuming that I'm having a smartphone. Right? Don't you think all these are right, very, very far-fetched assumptions, especially looking at regional structure in India, rural structure in India. I hope you understand rural structure in India. You might be living in a city, but I'm pretty sure you've seen how the rural villages or let's say villages structure are there in India. Right? You're expecting uninterrupted internet connectivity. You're expecting them to have a smartphone, and some of you are saying, so let them go to Bank Sathis. Very good idea. We have been promoting Bank Sathi structure, but I've told you this also. If you go to Bank Sathi and utilize the services, do you think they're providing charity to you? Think of it. Right? Again and again, I'll keep on telling you this statement. There are no free lunches in economy. There are no free lunches, which means again, you will incur certain expenditure. So don't you think some of the beneficiaries looking at all of this will simply say, no, DBT is not good for us. I hope you understand this. Right? So there are certain problems. There are certain issues related to this. Right? So is there any solution? Is there any solution to this kind of a problem? Of course, yes. Look at this. I hope you understand. Right? Look at this. There is a solution, e-rupee. Right? Latest reform by government. Latest reform. Right? There is a concept which has been proposed by Government of India, e-rupee. Now, what is this e-rupee? Let me explain. E-rupee is a cashless, contactless, person-specific, purpose-specific, electronic voucher-based payment system. I'll explain this. Go by point by point. It is a cashless, contactless, person-specific, purpose-specific, electronic voucher-based digital payment system. Sir, what do you mean by this? I'll come back to the slide. Focus on the flow here. Let's go step by step. Imagine here is a service sponsor. What do you mean by service sponsor? One who is providing services. Can I say government can be a service sponsor? Let me know. Government wants to pay money and provide certain services to you. Sir, what kind of services? Let's take a simple example here. Imagine Government of India wants me to purchase certain medicines, drugs. Government of India wants me to purchase certain medicines from a medical shop. Government will transfer 100 rupees into my bank account. Now, problem number one, don't you think getting access to 100 rupees, if the bank is very far away, will be a problem for me? Let me know. Getting access to this 100 rupee, right, because the bank is far away from the villager, will it not be a problem for me? Of course, answer is yes. Problem number two, government wants me to use the 100 rupee, purchase medicines. What is the guarantee? Think of it. What is the guarantee? What is the guarantee that I will use the 100 rupees to purchase medicines only? Can I use 100 rupees to purchase right, anything else apart from medicines? Of course, yes. Like some of you simply say, sir, tomorrow IPL is going to start. I will use a ClickPay app and bet on it. I'll take that 100 rupee. I'll bet on IPL matches now. Some of you might do that. So now the guarantee is not there. There is absolutely no way for the government to ensure that you are going to use 100 rupee for the right purposes that the government wants you to. So what has been proposed now is a new system. E-rupee system. E-rupee system. Electronic rupee system. Now what will happen under electronic rupee? Follow this carefully. Imagine you're the government. I'm the beneficiary. You want to give me 100 rupees to purchase medicine. You will not transfer it into my bank account. What you will do is, you will take my mobile number. You will go to a bank. Deposit this 100 rupee to the bank. Not in my account. Give it to the bank. And also give my mobile number to the bank. Now what will the bank do? Bank will send a QR code to the beneficiary. Right? Bank will send a QR code to the beneficiary. Now some of you will also find a problem here. You'll say, sir, what if I don't have a smartphone? Because QR codes will work out in smartphone. But what if I don't have a smartphone? Then government says, don't worry. I will send SMS now. I will send certain code in the form of SMS. So either a normal phone or a smartphone, doesn't matter. There's a system here. Now what I will do? I will take my mobile phone, go to the medical shop. In the medical shop, the shopkeeper will scan the QR code. Is it okay? They will simply scan the QR code. Now I will receive one OTP. I'll simply receive one OTP. I will give it to the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper will enter that OTP in the system. Now in the system, it will simply say 100 rupee worth of medicines. Please give it to this person. The shopkeeper or the medical shop owner will give me medicines. Now after this is done, have a look at this. The medical shopkeeper or medical shop owner has provided 100 rupee worth of medicines to me. And this data will be sent to the bank. Now the bank will simply transfer 100 rupee to the medical owner or shopkeeper here. Right? The 100 rupee, that is the funds, will be transferred right to the account of the service provider. That is medical shop owner. Then this is how e-rupee system will work. This is how e-rupee system will work. Right now, have a look at this. Is it a cashless system? Cashless in the system, in the sense, is the beneficiary getting a cash subsidy here? Let me know. Is the beneficiary getting a cash subsidy here? No, beneficiary will not get cash. Second, or if somebody says yes. No. Please say no. Beneficiary is not getting cash here. Earlier, the government used to transfer the 100 rupee into my bank account. Now they will not do it. Right? No cash. Point number two. Is there a requirement of a bank account for the beneficiary? Let me know. Is there a requirement of a bank account for the beneficiary here? Absolutely no. So one of the problems I said in case of DBT was a bank account itself. Are we not addressing it? Are we not addressing the whole issue here? That bank account is nowhere required for the beneficiary. Point number two. Point number three. Is there a scope of misuse of the cash? That is 100 rupee. 100 rupee was given to me earlier. Is there a scope of misuse of this 100 rupee now? Can I use it for anything else? Absolutely no. You cannot take the QR code, go to let's say a restaurant and order biryani. That will not be allowed. You cannot take a QR code, go to Inox and say I want to watch John Wick, give me one ticket. That will not be allowed. So what is allowed? That QR code, you can take it to only the medical shop and only the medical shop owner will be able to scan it and give you the tablets or let's say medicines. Right? So one, cashless. Second, right, have a look at this. Second one, it is contactless. Contactless means what? Neither the beneficiary nor the service provider have to run to government officials. I hope you understand this. Neither the beneficiary nor the service provider have to run behind government officials. Have you not seen in different scenarios where you're supposed to get a subsidy, but the government officials will keep on harassing you? May not be directly you only. Don't say, sir, I've never come across this situation. Right? I've not experienced it. May not be you, but others have experienced it. Right? Let's say a hospital will provide service for which government is supposed to make a payment. Now they'll have to keep on running behind IS officers. Sir, this bill is pending. Sir, this bill is pending. Madam, this bill is pending. Now, is it required? Think of it. Do you need to approach government officials here for either for getting a benefit or getting a payment? Absolutely no. Why? In the bank already the funds are transferred. Right? Look at the beauty of the system. In the bank already the funds are there. You provide the service, you give the proof to the bank, automatically the funds will be transferred to you. Right? As a beneficiary, you don't have to run. You don't have to approach for clearing of funds, etc. Funds are already there in the bank like this. That is the reason this is a cashless, contactless, person-specific, and purpose-specific. Is the logic okay? It is a cashless, contactless, person-specific, and purpose-specific payment system, digital payment right system that is being proposed and implemented by the government. Okay, right? This system is referred to as e-rupee system. Very recent, very recent. Some of you are saying, sir, whatever you discuss, it is not there in the book. I generally tell the students, I will keep on adding a lot of current affairs. In the books, you will not find it. That's the reason. Focus on the classroom discussion. Now, this is the basic idea of a e-rupee system. E-rupee, very, very famous now. Now, government of India also says, look at this and let me know. Government of India also says, only government may not use it. Right? I will provide a lot of services under e-rupee. Even the private sector can utilize the e-rupee system. Even the private sector can utilize the e-rupee system. So how? How can the private sector utilize e-rupee system? Let me give you a very simple example. Right? Let's say you're a private sector company. I'm working for you. Right? I'm working for you. You'll be happy with this. You're a private sector company. I'm working for you. Right? You want me to get vaccinated because you don't want others to get COVID because of me. You want me to get vaccinated. So what you'll do? You'll give me 700 rupees. Ask me to get vaccinated. Now you tell me what is the guarantee that I will get vaccinated? Any guarantee? Any guarantee? Absolutely no. Now can you use this system to ensure that I will get vaccinated and benefit will be there? How? Right? Apply the same logic. You as a private sector company, you will take my mobile number, that is beneficiary detail, 700 rupees, give it to the bank. Give it to the bank. The bank will send a QR code to me. I will go to a hospital, show the QR code, they will scan it, I'll get an OTP, give it to them. Now this hospital will provide a vaccination shot to me. Right? Can I say in the same way, private sector can use this for multiple reasons, multiple purposes like this. Right? So the beauty of this system, government says, I will use it. But apart from me, in addition to my usage, even the private sector can utilize the e-rupee system. Even the private sector will be allowed to use the e-rupee system. Done? Now, right, who has developed this e-rupee system? These are the agencies, please remember this. First one is NPCI, National Payments Corporation of India. In addition to this, there is a DFS, Department of Financial Services, part of Ministry of Finance. DFS comes under Ministry of Finance. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, MOH, and FW, and the National Health Mission. So these are the four agencies. Mainly it is NPCI, but in addition to NPCI, these are the other agencies, right, which are involved in the development of e-rupee system. Now, who are the participants in the e-rupee system? Who are the participants? Right, one is the service provider, service sponsor, the one who is going to provide money for the services. It could be a private sector, it could be the government. It could be the private sector, it could also be the government. Service provider is there, it could be a hospital, shopkeeper, medical shop owner, right, etc., etc., etc. There is no limit, right, in what way you can use it. Sky is the limit. You can use it in any of these schemes, any of the schemes, right? Bank as well as the beneficiary. These are the four participants, right, who are there in the system of e-rupee. Right? So what are the advantages of all of it? What are the advantages? What are the benefits we're expecting from this? One, you don't have to have a bank account. That's the first one, most important. Remember this. Right? Why? Under the direct benefit transfer, one of the constraint, one of the limitation was having a bank account. Because if you have a bank account, again, you'll have to travel all the way to the bank. These are far enough. You don't know how to use a smartphone. That's a problem, right? That is online banking. You don't know how to operate it, etc. But here, you don't have to have a bank account itself. You can use a normal phone. Okay? Ensure the money is used for the right purposes. That's also very important. Purpose specific. Privacy of the beneficiary is protected. That is, as of now, the guideline says, the beneficiary, if they have a QR code, they can simply go to, let's say, a shopkeeper, show the QR code, get the medicine. Go to hospital, show the QR code, get the treatment. They don't have to disclose any details. They do not have to provide any personal details to the service provider. Voucher redemption can also be tracked by the issuer. For example, you are the government, you have issued a e-rupee voucher, that is 100 rupee voucher in my name. You have given it to 100 rupee, you have given it to a bank. Now you can find out whether the bank has issued a voucher in my name or not. That's a QR code. Have I used the QR code? If yes, on which date it was issued? On which date QR code was used? Where was the QR code used? In which shop the QR code was used? You can get all the information. Right? The voucher redemption can be tracked now by the issuer. They can simply track it. Voucher has a verification code also, OTP. Right? Because some of you simply say, sir, what if right the QR code is basically sent to somebody else? Your mobile number is there by mistake. Imagine it has been sent to somebody else. Even if they scan it, OTP will come to whom? Your number now. I hope you understand. OTP will come to your number. Okay, so voucher has a verification code. Until unless you provide the OTP, services will not be provided. Can be used by the private sector also, and will promote a financial inclusion, help us move towards digital economy. Right? These are certain very important benefits or advantages associated with e-rupee system. But are there any concerns related to this? Are there any problems related to this? Of course, yes. Let's start. E-rupee will not provide any guarantee of a service delivery. So what do you mean by this? Look at point number 1 and 2. Have a look at this. Look at point number 1 and 2. It will not guarantee regarding any kind of a service delivery. It does not address other supply side issues. What do you mean by this? Imagine you have received a QR code whose value is 100 rupee worth. And what is the use of the QR code? You are supposed to purchase medicines. Now tell me, will the QR code guarantee a medical shop in the village? Let me know this. Right? QR code is worth 100 rupee. You can use this 100 rupee to purchase medicines. But does it ensure that there is a medical shop in the village? Does it ensure? Of course no. Even if there is a medical shop, does it ensure that the medicine that you want is available in the medical shop? Let me know. If you say yes, tell me the argument in favor of that. Because the answer is no, by the way. Answer is no. You have received 100 rupee worth of QR code. You're supposed to use it to purchase medicines. But in the village, imagine there's no medical shop. You'll have to go to another village. Don't you think that's a problem all over again? There's a medical shop, but that medical shop doesn't have the medicine that you wanted to purchase. So guarantee of service delivery, no. Will it address the supply side issues such as supply of all the medicines in the shop? Again, the answer is no. Right, so these are the first two problems. Again, some of you will say, sir, we can misuse it other way also. I will have a tie-up with the shopkeeper. I will not purchase medicines. He will give me, let's say, 70 rupees instead of 100 rupees. That can also be done. But again, that is abuse of the system. Misuse of the system. Okay. Third one, underline the term earlier. Underline the term earlier. Earlier, there was a limit on the usage of voucher. Earlier, there was a limit on usage of the voucher. Right? What do you mean by limit on the usage of voucher? You will get a voucher of 100 rupees. You can use it only once. Right? Understand the problem here. You have received a voucher of 100 rupees. You can scan it only once. So why it is a problem? Let's say you went to the medical shop. You wanted to purchase two types of medicines. Now the problem is that what if the shopkeeper or in the medical shop only one of the medicine is there? I'll repeat my point. You have a QR code. You went to the medical shop. You wanted to purchase two medicines. One of them was there. One of them is not there. Now the problem is that you want to purchase one medicine, but if they scan the QR code once, it is not usable after that. Now some of you say, sir, I will wait for other medicine also. But what if they take 5 days to bring the second medicine, 3 days to bring the second medicine? Don't you think you're delaying taking treatment? I hope you understand. So earlier the problem was, one, the QR code was not allowed to be scanned more than once. And even the value of the QR code was lesser earlier. That is the maximum value of a QR code that could be issued by the government was 10,000 rupees. Now this is the problem. Imagine government wants you to have a surgery. Imagine government of India wants you to have a surgery. How many of you think surgery can be, right? You can get the surgery done by 10,000 rupees. Don't you think you require more amount, more than 10,000 rupees? But the maximum limit that was allowed earlier was 10,000 rupees. So what we have done, that's the reason I've written earlier here. What we have done is, we have increased the limit of the QR code now. The voucher that can be issued, maximum limit is 1 lakh rupees. Right, maximum limit is 1 lakh rupees. And the second one, multiple times, until unless you can exhaust it, multiple times you can use the same QR code. That is, let me take the same example here. Imagine you have a QR code of 100 rupees. You want to purchase medicine A and medicine B. You want to purchase medicine A and medicine B. Right now they have only medicine A. Scan it. Purchase 60 rupees worth of medicine A. 60 rupees will be deducted. You're left with 40 rupees. After 3 days, imagine medicine B has come to the shop. Go to the shop, scan the QR code, purchase the remaining 40 rupees worth of medicine B. That is allowed now. Right. So this is the very recent reform that has been introduced by Reserve Bank of India in the context of e-rupee system. Done. Very, very recent reform. Very, very recent reform. Right. Understand this carefully. Underline the term earlier. Right. I don't understand. Why don't you listen to me? I said earlier this was a problem. This is the reform. This is the reform which has been announced by RBI. Done. Right. So this is a discussion regarding, right, the idea of e-rupee. Right. So what we have discussed so far: what is subsidy, how subsidies are provided, any problem related to subsidies, systems under subsidies, etc., etc., etc. Now one more concept under the chapter of subsidies, that is the connection between WTO and subsidies. But before that, let me take up your questions, address them, then we'll take a break. Is CBDC only used for subsidy or daily use like transaction? CBDC is a different concept. You're talking about digital rupee. I hope you understand. CBDC, you're talking about digital rupee, central board digital currency. Digital rupee is different. E-rupee is different. Is it okay? Digital rupee is different. E-rupee is different. Digital rupee, right? Understand that it's basically a digital version of currencies that you have. For example, if you open your purse, you'll have 500 rupee, you'll have 200 rupee, you'll have 100 rupee currency note. Rather than that, RBI says, I will not print the currencies now. Open a wallet. Open a wallet. In the wallet, you can receive digital money. You can simply receive a digital money now. That is basically the idea of a digital rupee. Right? E-rupee is not digital rupee. E-rupee is a voucher system. It's a payment system. It's different. Okay. If bank account is not required in e-rupee, then how a bank can give QR code to the right beneficiary? My dear, did you listen to the process? I said your mobile number, beneficiary mobile number is given. Government will give the beneficiary mobile number. You will get the QR code to your mobile, not in your bank account. Okay. Can't the QR code will be used for others? That QR code allocated to me at refer. Okay, I don't understand the question. Please rephrase the question. I'm unable to find today's PPT in book. It will not be there in the book. Right? Like I've already mentioned, it is from current affairs. Are transfer payments also types of subsidies? Of course, yes. PM Kisan is a transfer payment only. What is the meaning of a transfer payment? Right, we have discussed all of this. What is a transfer payment? Transfer payment are one-sided transfers without, right, any transfer of goods or services. Tell me, is a PM Kisan transfer payment or not? I hope you understand. LPG subsidy, is it a transfer payment or not? Of course, yes. Example of explicit subsidies. Any subsidies that you can think of right now, for example, fertilizer subsidy, it is an explicit subsidy. PM Kisan, NFSA, right, fertilizer subsidy, all these are explicit subsidies only. Okay. How bank will know he is the right person to be given QR code? Bank will not identify the beneficiaries. I hope you understand. Bank doesn't identify the beneficiaries. Government has identified the beneficiaries. Government will simply give the list of the beneficiaries with their mobile number. Bank has to simply ensure to these mobile numbers QR code is sent. That's it. That is the role of the bank. Okay. Right. Generally, I don't do this, but again, is this a live class? Yes, my dear, it's a live class. It's a live class. Ask the question rather than asking, is it a live class? Okay. What is UPI charge? Again, let's not divert. Focus on the point of discussion. Focus on what we are discussing. Okay. Can e-rupee service provided by both government and corporate? Yes, it can be. Right. It can be provided by both corporate as well as government. NACH, right? Again, not needed right now. Don't try to read everything into subsidies only. Don't bring everything under subsidies. What is NBS? Nutrient-based subsidy. Again, I'll repeat it. Right? Let me give an equivalent example. Don't write that, but all of you know to prepare certain, let's say, breakfast, you require raw materials. Let me simplify it much further. Imagine you will prepare, let's say, upma. You want to prepare upmeat. Okay. Do you require raw materials or not? Let me know. Because some of the students are saying, so NBS is very difficult to understand. Right? It's not very difficult. You don't listen. That's the reason it becomes difficult. To prepare upma, you require raw materials. You require onion. You'll require certain spices, right? Or let's say chili. You require, right? Let's say that the rava, etc. Now, right? Have a look at this. Replace this raw material, right? In case of upma with nutrients. Replace this with nutrients. What is the use of the nutrients? Nutrients are used to manufacture fertilizers. Sir, why are you taking example from South India? Rajma chawal. Take Rajma chawal then, right? Take dal tadka, whatever you want. That doesn't make any difference. So have a look at this. Even to manufacture fertilizers, nutrients are needed. Whatever nutrients you are using, per kg, subsidy is provided by the government. Right? Per kg, subsidy is provided by the government. Simple. That is a nutrient-based subsidy. That is referred to as nutrient. Look at the name itself. Don't you think the name itself is self-indicated or self-explanatory? Nutrient-based subsidy. What is the consumption of nutrients? To that, I will connect the subsidies. Done? Okay. So ingredients, not raw materials. Okay, Baba. Okay. Done. So let me take a break now. Let me take a break. We'll restart again at 8:20. We'll restart again at 8:20. Take a break. Welcome back. Am I audible? Can we start now? Am I audible? Please do let me know. Let's start. So now, next concept within subsidies, the connection between WTO and subsidies. Let's understand this very carefully. Yesterday's newspaper article I asked you to read. We'll connect this discussion to that as well. Follow the discussion. Under WTO, I said there are multiple agreements. Right? I hope you remember yesterday's discussion. Under WTO, there are multiple agreements. We have discussed TRIPS, TRIMS, GATS, SCM yesterday. Let me introduce one more agreement to you. Agreement on agriculture. AOA, Agreement on Agriculture. Now, under Agreement on Agriculture, there are three very important pillars, three very important concepts. One, market access. Second one is export subsidies. Third one is domestic support. Okay. One is market access. Second one is export subsidies. And the third one is domestic support. Let's go point by point. First one is market access. Now, focus on the discussion. Whatever I discuss, connect it to agriculture because this is agreement on agriculture. So, obviously, connect it to agriculture. Let's say there are two countries, A and B. Now, is it okay if I say agriculture trade between both A and B can be increased by eliminating non-tariff barriers? Let me know. By eliminating non-tariff barriers, by reducing tariff barriers. Any problem with this? The agriculture trade, that is exports and imports of agriculture products between A and B, we can promote. How we can promote? Eliminate non-tariff barriers, do not have non-tariff barriers. Rather, have tariff barriers, but reduce these tariff barriers. Reduce the tariff barriers. There's a term called as a tarification. Remember this. Under Agreement on Agriculture, there's a term called as a tarification. What do you mean by tarification? Whatever non-tariff barriers you have, eliminate it. Instead of having non-tariff barriers, have tariff barriers. Why you should be able to understand with yesterday's discussion. Which is more restrictive in nature? Which barrier is more restrictive in nature? A non-tariff barrier or a tariff barrier? Right? Can you connect it to yesterday's discussion? Non-tariff barriers are more restrictive in nature. That's the reason Agreement on Agriculture says go for tarification. Tarification means conversion of non-tariff barriers into tariff barriers. Eliminate non-tariff barriers. Rather have tariff barriers and try to reduce them so that the trade between A and B automatically will start increasing. That is point number one, right? Idea of a market access. Come to point number two, export subsidies. Right? Look at the yesterday's discussion. How many of you think all the countries should be providing export subsidies for agriculture sector? Let me know. Should USA be providing export subsidies? Should India provide export subsidies? Should other countries such as China provide export subsidies? Answer is no. We should not provide export subsidies. Why? Export subsidies will basically be provided by lower income countries, poorer countries. But you are a very rich country. Do not provide export subsidies. If you provide export subsidies, basically your exports will start increasing. Other countries will not be getting the benefit from this. And the third point, most important point, follow this: domestic support. Third point is right the domestic support. Now, what is this domestic support? Reduce the subsidies that you're providing to agriculture sector. The subsidies that you're providing in the domestic market for promotion of production in the agriculture sector, reduce it. Sir, why should we reduce it? I will introduce a term that is a trade distortion. Remember the term here? That is a trade distorting. Sir, what do you mean by trade distorting? Any policy, any measure of the government, any policy or any measure of the government which will alter the market behavior. Which will alter market behavior. I'll give you example. Follow this and let me know after this whether we can call this as a trade distortion or not. So I'll repeat the definition here. What is a trade distortion? Any policy or any measure of the government which will alter the behavior of the market. That is basically the idea of a trade distortion. How? Let me start. Imagine two countries, country 1 and country 2. The farmer is cultivating same crop. Let's assume same crop in both the countries. Right? So what are the inputs you will require? What kind of inputs will you require? You will require seeds. You will require fertilizer. You will require electricity. Done? I'm taking three simple examples. What are the inputs you require? You require seeds, you require fertilizer, and you require electricity. Let's say in the country 1, the farmer will pay 10 rupees, and 10 rupees. Just hypothetical calculation, understand the concept behind it. So for the cultivation of the crop in country 1, the farmer will spend how much? 30 rupees. Come to the second country. Government in the second country will provide electricity free of a cost to the farmer. Free of a cost. Doesn't have to pay even a single rupee for electricity. Fertilizer, huge subsidy is provided. Fertilizer is available at 2 rupees. Seeds, right? Let's say no subsidy is provided. Let's assume no subsidy is provided, 10 rupees. What is the cost of cultivation of the same crop in the second country? 12 rupees. Now, because of this subsidy which is provided by the government here, possible exports will start flowing from country 2 to country 1. Let me know. Possible or not? Exports will start flowing from country 2 to country 1. Now, can I say this policy of the government is a trade distorting? Look at the definition and let me know. Can I say this policy of the government in country 2, it is a distorting trade between country 1 and country 2? Because if government of country 2, if they had not given any subsidy, exports may or may not flow. Most probably they will not flow. But what is happening? Because the government of second country is providing a lot of subsidies, whatever is the market behavior, whatever is the trade between country 1 and country 2, that is disturbed. There is a change in the behavior in the market. This is called as a trade distorting measure. Trade distorting measure. Done? This is the problem. This is a problem, big problem in the agriculture sector. That is the precise reason. Have a look at this. That is the precise reason. Under Agreement on Agriculture sector, what WTO says is try to divide the subsidies into 3 brackets. Right? I'll repeat this. Follow this very carefully. This is important. We'll connect it to current affairs. Under Agreement on Agriculture sector, try to divide these subsidies into 3 brackets or 3 classifications. What are these classifications? We'll follow a methodology called as a traffic light approach. Traffic light approach. In the traffic light, I'm pretty sure all of you seen the traffic lights. Either vertical like this, horizontal like this, doesn't matter. Right? You will have a red color, you will have an amber color, you will have a green color. Right? Anybody here who says no, sir? Right? No red color in the traffic light, no green color in the traffic light. But what is the meaning of the colors? If this is red, what is the meaning of the red color in the traffic light? It simply means stop. Simply means stop. Don't go forward. Stop there itself. If it is green, what is the meaning of the green color? Right? Go ahead. Go ahead. No issues. Please move forward. And what is the meaning of this amber color? Amber color simply represents slowing down. slowing down. For example, you're going like this, green light is there, right? Now it has shifted to amber. It simply means now it is shifting to red. Please slow down. But for most of us, it is completely different. Right? I'm pretty sure you will behave this way. I will also behave this way. Imagine you're going in a traffic light, green is there, suddenly it will shift to amber. Rather than slowing down, what do we do? What do we do? Do we slow down? No, we will, right, increase the speed. We want to go fast, right, fast and furious. So argument is simple here, right? Understand the technical idea here. Green means please go ahead. Amber means slow down. Red means stop. We will be using the same idea in classifying the subsidies. Point number one. Have a look at this. Point number one. Green box is subsidies. What do you mean by green color? What do you mean by green color? Please go. Please move. No problem. Please go. So have a look at this. Whenever certain subsidies are provided by the government to agriculture sector, right, to the agriculture sector, which are not distorting the trade. I'll repeat the statement. Whenever subsidies are provided by the government to agriculture sector, which are not distorting the trade or creating negligible distortion, these subsidies are kept under green box. Right? These subsidies are kept under green box subsidies. Right? Any example of this? PM Kisan scheme. PM Kisan scheme. PM Kisan scheme. PM Kisan scheme is a green box subsidy in India. It is not distorting any trade. It is not creating any kind of distortion. Right? Some of you ask, how do you prove that? You tell me. Does government of India tell you for what purpose you're supposed to use 6,000 rupees? Let me know. Right? For what purpose you're supposed to use 6,000 rupees? Does government, right, mention it? Absolutely no. Can you use the 6,000 rupees to purchase seeds? Left to you. Can you use the 6,000 rupees to purchase fertilizer? Left to you. Entirely your discretion. It is an income support. It is not connected to anything. It is just an income support. So now tell me, if there is a subsidy which doesn't create any distortion or negligible distortion, should we impose any conditions regarding that? Should we limit government giving that kind of a subsidy? Right? Answer is simply no, because these are not creating any distortion. So in case of any subsidy that will fall under the green box, there is no limit on how much the subsidies are provided. Any problem with this? Absolutely no limit. Governments can provide any amount of subsidies under the green box. Come to the next one, amber box. Come to the next one, amber box. Now what is this amber box? These are the kind of subsidies which will simply distort trade. So any example of these kind of subsidies, my dear, please look at the example here. What about fertilizer subsidy given by the government of India? Will it distort the trade or not? Let me know. What about the electricity subsidy given by the states? Will it distort the trade or not? And the third one, most important, and let's connect it to current affairs now, MSP, minimum support price. Let me start. What is MSP? Right, have a look at this. What is MSP? I'll come back to this, don't worry. What is MSP? MSP basically is the price that is paid by the government whenever they procure food grains from the farmers. Right, look at the definition here itself. What is MSP? Minimum support price. It is the price that the government will pay when they purchase the food grain from the farmers. Now, why does the government purchase food grain from the farmers? Government has a food distribution program. Government runs a lot of food distribution program. These programs are run for a simple reason, to provide food grain for poor houses. At least that's the objective. How many houses are covered? Right? Will only poor be covered? We'll discuss that tomorrow. Have patience. But is it okay if I say government will run food distribution programs such as right, NFSA, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, midday meals, etc. For what purposes? For the purpose of providing welfare for the poor people. Right? Now to provide for the welfare, government will purchase the food grain and use the food grain for distribution. Now this policy, have a look at this. This policy of government purchasing the food grain and keeping the food grain, this is called as a public stocks. This is called as a public stock. If you've read the newspaper yesterday, this term was there in the newspaper. Right? Government, in order to distribute the food grains, distribute food or provide food, etc., will purchase food grain. But when the government will purchase the food grain, government will pay money. That money that is paid by the government is called as minimum support price. Now this is a part of amber box. This is a part of amber box. Why? Have a look at this problem here. Have a look at the problem here. Here is government of India. Government of India will announce MSP, let's say for wheat. In fact, they announce MSP for more than 20 crops. We'll discuss that also later. It will announce MSP, let's say for wheat and rice. And the MSP for wheat and rice, imagine it is high. Now start answering. Is it okay if I say cultivation of both the wheat and rice will increase in India? Let me know. If the MSP announced by the government is higher, will the cultivation of rice and wheat increase or not? Of course, yes. When the cultivation will increase, when the cultivation or production increases, what will happen to supply in the market? What will happen to the supply of rice and wheat to the market? Supply increases. Supply to the market will increase. Now, once the supply increases, what will happen to prices of rice and wheat in India? In the market, what will happen to the price of rice, price of wheat? Price of rice and wheat will start falling, will start declining. Now tell me, rather than importing, is there a possibility that we will export rice and wheat from India to USA? Imagine you're one of the middlemen here. You're one of the exporter. The market supply of rice and wheat has increased. And why it has increased? Government of India has announced more MSP. And when the supplies increase, prices will come down. These prices are much lower compared to what are the prices in USA. You are one of the traders. You are one of the exporters. Can you see a system where you can make more profit now? Look at it. Right? Don't you think you'll be able to make more profits by purchasing rice and wheat in India, export it to USA where the prices are higher? That is exactly what will happen. That is exactly what will happen. You will export more and more rice and wheat to USA. Now, if rice and wheat from India will come and fall in the USA market, what will happen to domestic producers? What will happen? What will happen to farmers in USA? Don't you think their earnings will be affected? That is the reason the government of USA, government of country A, B, and C, they are right worried about MSP given by government of India. Can you understand the sequence here? Any problem with this? Now, read the article again. Automatically, it will be much more clear to you. Read the same article that I read yesterday. It will be much more clear to you. Government of India says, I will announce MSP. I will procure food grains. I will store food grains. Why? Because population which is poor is very high in India. And because I want to address poverty in India. For that, I will purchase the food grain at MSP. But government of USA says, because you are announcing MSP, my farmers are getting affected. You are distorting trade between India and USA. That is the issue with the policy of MSP. Now, can I simply say MSP will be amber box subsidy? Let me know. MSP will be amber box subsidy. Any problem with this? Right? So MSP is an amber box subsidy. Now I'll go to the third box, but let me complete the discussion here. You tell me if these kind of subsidies are going to distort the market, should we not control these subsidies? Should we not put limitations on the subsidies like this? That is where I will introduce the concept of de minimis level. That is where there is a concept under the agreement on agriculture which is called as a de minimis level. What is this de minimis level? Or some of the books will also write it as a limit. What does this de minimis level or de minimis limit say? Right? If you are a developing country, the amount of support is nothing but subsidies. The amount of support that you provide, which are trade distorting, should be limited in case of a developing countries to 10% of value of production, and in case of a developed countries to 5% of value of production. I'll give you calculation, have patience. The de minimis limit or de minimis level states that if you are a developing country, the amount of support that you provide, subsidies that you provide, which are trade distorting, should be limited to 10% of value of production. And if you are a developed country, should be limited to 5% of value of production. So what do you mean by this? Let's say hypothetically, the total value of rice cultivation in India, this year is $100 billion. The total value of rice cultivation in India is $100 billion. What is the limit for India? What is the limit? India is a developing country. What is the limit imposed on government of India? 10%. So what is 10% of $100 billion? Tell me, what is 10% of $100 billion? $10 billion. So the amount of trade distorting measure which is given by government of India should be limited to $10 billion. This is what the de minimis limit or de minimis level says. Any problem with the next point? That is de minimis limit. But again, this is what I've tried to do here is I've tried to simplify the calculation. Is the calculation so simple? Absolutely no. I'll repeat the statement. Right? I'll repeat it. I have tried to simplify the calculation. It is not so simple. It is not so simple. Trust me. Sir, why it is not so simple? Look at the calculation I've done in what terms? Have I done the calculation in terms of rupees or dollars? I've done in dollars. Now, if you provide subsidies in India, will you provide in dollars or rupees in India? You'll provide in rupees. Now the question is, what is the exchange rate you will count? Simple. What is the exchange rate? Are you going to take the current exchange rate or historical exchange rate, etc., etc.? That is the reason. Please understand my statement here. You do not have to understand calculation. That is not needed. Is the calculation easy? No, it is very difficult. There is no fixed methodology for calculation. India will calculate in one way. USA will calculate in another way. There is a concept of a base year, 1986, 88 prices have to be taken. Historical exchange rate has to be taken, etc., etc. You don't worry. You simply understand calculation is done, but there is no uniformity. India has a different methodology. USA has a different methodology. You will have to remember this. Right? So next point is important here. The governments will calculate like this: de minimis level, de minimis limit. You should not be crossing 10% limit. You should not be crossing 10% limit for developing countries, and for developing countries, it should not be more than 5%. It is calculated individually crop-wise. I repeat, it is calculated individually crop-wise, rice, wheat, like this. And it is calculated for overall agriculture sector as well. For overall agriculture sector also calculation is done. Individual crop-wise also calculation is done. Now what is the issue here? What is the issue? WTO started functioning in 1995. All of you remember this, right? WTO started functioning in 1995. Now don't you think whatever methodology we are using, the methodology was decided long time ago. Think of it. Whatever methodology you are using, it was decided long time ago. In fact, remember this. WTO started working in 1995. But the negotiations regarding WTO started back in 1986. I hope you understand this. WTO was established in 1995. But it's not like all the countries will meet in 1995. They'll say, okay, let's start. No, negotiations were conducted. Multiple rounds of negotiations were conducted back from 1986 itself. So all of this methodology, etc., etc., was decided many, many decades ago. Don't you think situation of India was completely different in 1990s compared to today? I hope you understand the counterpoint of Government of India. Government of India says all of this was decided decades ago, and you're asking us to follow the same thing even today. How is that possible? Let's review all of it. That is the viewpoint of Government of India. Point number one. Point number two, right, look at this very carefully. The number of people who are poor in India are very high. Number of farmers who are also very poor is very high in India. Now you tell me which is more effective for Government of India to provide welfare. Is it the green box subsidy or an amber box subsidy in the context of India? I'll repeat it. Context is important here. Number of poor people very high. Number of poor farmers also very high. Right? What makes better sense for Government of India to provide welfare here? Provide subsidies under the green box or amber box? It is amber box. Some of us saying green box. No, it is amber box. You're saying green box because you're looking at only one example, PM Kisan. Any other example of a green box subsidy? Research and development subsidies. Any subsidy that is given by the government for promotion of research and development, pesticide control, etc. On the other side, electricity subsidy, fertilizer subsidy, MSP. You tell me where welfare, important term, where welfare can be achieved more. Don't you think the second one is better? Welfare, not economics, welfare. Right? So in the second system, welfare can be provided much better. So Government of India is worried. It's worried that if you're going to impose a 10% limit on amber box, if you're going to limit amber box subsidies, don't you think it will affect my welfare approach? Let me know. Government of India says, if you put 10% limit on the amber box subsidies, will it not affect my welfare approach here? Answer is yes, by the way. Why? You can simply provide subsidies for research and development. But farmers want MSP. You can provide subsidies for pesticide management. Farmers want free electricity. Right? So government will provide it. But then government will be crossing the 10% limit. And if you cross the 10% limit, what will happen? What will happen? Other countries such as USA can go to WTO, file a dispute against you. I hope you understand. Other countries such as USA can go to WTO, file a dispute against you. And the panel will be set up. The panel will say India is wrong. Now you'll have to withdraw these subsidies. So that is the reason. Follow the next point carefully here. In 2013, there was one ministerial conference. In 2013, there was one ministerial conference, very famous, 9th ministerial conference, which was conducted in Bali. And Government of India said, I'm not happy with this kind of a limit on amber box subsidies. Simple. We don't want these kind of limits. Why? We procure a lot of food grains under public stocks For running the public distribution system, we purchase a lot of the stocks like this, and I pay MSP. And when I pay MSP, it is counted as amber box. So ultimately, I'll end up crossing the 10% limit. And if I cross the 10% limit, USA will go to WTO, file a complaint against me. Right? That is the reason in 2013 Bali conference, there was a clause, there was a provision that was introduced, which is now very famous, peace clause. Which is very, very famous now. Peace clause. Right? What is this peace clause? Under the peace clause, if a developing country, underline the term, under the peace clause, if the developing country breaches, crosses the 10% level, that is the de minimis limit, other countries will not be allowed to file complaint against this country. I'll repeat it again. Under the peace clause, if a developing country to run public distribution, to provide food safety, food security to the people, will end up crossing 10% limit, will end up crossing a 10% limit, other countries will not be allowed to file a complaint against this country. So now let me ask you a simple question. Tell me now, is the peace clause available to every country under WTO? I'll repeat the question. Is the peace clause available to every country under WTO? Answer is no, only for developing country. And India is a developing country. Right, done. Point one. Now next point was, we will provide the peace clause only for 4 years. Look at this. We'll provide the peace clause for 4 years. That is, we announced this in 2013. In 2017, automatically peace clause will not be available for developing countries. Why? The WTO expected that in the next 4 years, countries will hold negotiations, and whatever is the issue, it will be resolved. Right? Countries will hold negotiations, consultations with each other, and all these issues would be resolved. Now in 2014, what happened? Government of India again objected. Simple. Government of India again objected, and many countries supported India. What was the objection? Government of India objected that you have introduced a peace clause only for 4 years. What if there is no solution in the next 4 years? And what if this dispute that is there, that is, I don't want any limit, they want the limit, etc. There is a problem in WTO. You say it will be resolved in 4 years. What if it is not resolved? It simply means after 4 years, again we are back to square one. Again I'll keep on opposing, you'll keep on imposing. So what is the solution then? That is the precise reason. Initially, this peace clause was made available only for 4 years. Later, in 2014, this limit of 4 years was withdrawn. Is it okay? The limit of 4 years was withdrawn. What is the meaning of it? Even after 4 years, we have crossed to 2017. Even today, the peace clause is available, and it will continue to remain available as long as there is a permanent solution for all of it. Right? That is very important. Remember this. The next point. If it is available, what is the advantage for India? India can continue to procure the food grains under MSP, even if it crosses the 10% limit. Even if it crosses 10% limit, no other country can file a dispute against India. They cannot file a dispute against India, but there are conditions here. Follow this. There are conditions. What is the condition here? Government of India will have to use this peace clause only in situations where they have crossed the 10% limit for providing food grain programs. I hope you understand. What do you mean by this? Right, have a look at this. Government of India will purchase food grains at MSP. Can they export it to the rest of the world? Think of it. Think of it. Government of India will purchase the food grains at MSP. Are they allowed to export to the rest of the world? No. Why? What is the condition? Right? One person says yes. No, my dear. Again and again, I'm throwing the term food security, providing food welfare for the people, etc., etc. Right? So understand, Government of India will not be allowed to do that. They will purchase it, use it only for domestic market. Use it to provide for welfare, for poor people, food distribution programs. And second, right, Government of India, whatever clarifications are asked by other members regarding their programs, whatever clarifications are asked by other members, Government of India has to provide it. Government of India has to provide for it. Right? And third one, if Government of India will announce the MSP, right, they will basically, right, they will procure this, right, the crop under MSP, rice and wheat, etc. They will procure it. But this procurement should not affect the public distribution, food security of other countries. It should not affect the public distribution or let's say food security in other countries. These kind of conditions are attached to peace clause. Now, what is the contention here? What is the contention in yesterday's newspaper? Many countries are accusing India that we are asking for information, you are not giving us the information. Because remember this, although the peace clause was introduced in 2013, no other country has used it, India has used it. I hope you understand. No other country has used it. India has used the peace clause 2 times now. 2020, 2021, 2 times we have used the peace clause. Right? So other countries are asking for more and more information. And Government of India says, this is the information that is available to me. As best I can, I will provide you information. There is no compulsion under the peace clause that I will have to give it in writing to you. I will provide the information orally, etc., etc., etc. Right? This is basically the gist of the article that was there in Hindu newspaper yesterday. Read it again, you will understand it in much better way. Done. So this is a basic idea for green box, amber box, peace clause, conditions related to peace clause, etc. Now finally, blue box. Finally, the concept of blue box. In fact, I'll connect it to one more current affairs point. Russian-Ukraine war. Right? The Russian-Ukraine war broke out. Ukraine is one of the very important countries in terms of supplying wheat to the international market. I hope you understand. Russia and Ukraine, right, both of them entered into war. Ukraine is one of the very important countries in terms of producing wheat. It is a wheat bowl, producing wheat and exporting wheat. And when both of the countries went to war, export of wheat from Russia, Ukraine, not Russia, Ukraine, export of food grain, that is wheat from Ukraine, went down. And what happened to the wheat prices in the international market? Wheat prices started going up. Right, the supply to poorer countries went down, etc. At that point of time, if you remember it carefully, Government of India asked WTO. Government of India asked WTO, can you provide me relaxations so that I will export wheat to the international market? I hope you understand. Government of India, private sector can do it. I hope you understand my point here. Private sector can export, import, whatever they want to do. Government of India is not allowed to do that. So Government of India asked the WTO, can you provide me a relaxation? Provide me a relaxation under this peace clause so that I will export wheat to the international market, right? Reduce the market prices. Has it been provided? No, it has not been provided. Done. So this is also one of the very important current affairs point. Now come to the blue box. Right? What is this blue box? Blue box basically trade distorting policy. It's a trade distorting subsidy. But please understand, there is no limit on blue box subsidies. Why? Government can use the blue box subsidies to control production. I'll repeat it again. Blue box subsidies are those subsidies which are trade distorting, but government will use these subsidies to limit production. Hence, there is no restriction on subsidies under the blue box. So what do you mean by this? Let me give you a simple hypothetical example and underline the term hypothetical because in case of India we do not have it. I'll give you an international example. So imagine in India, government will announce the MSP policy like this today. Right, the class is over, you'll switch on the TV, Prime Minister will be there in the TV and the Prime Minister says, henceforth, MSP will be given to the farmers who cultivate wheat, but the cultivation should be done only in 1 hectare of land. Understand this carefully. Right, what is the announcement? Prime Minister says, I will pay MSP, procure wheat from any farmer. But the condition is what? Condition is that farmers should not cultivate wheat on more than 1 hectare of a land. Now, right, is it okay if I say, if the farmers want to earn MSP, they cannot cultivate wheat on more than 1 hectare of a land? And if you basically cultivate only on 1 hectare of a land, tell me what will happen to production of wheat? What will happen to the production of wheat? Will the production of wheat increase or become restricted, decrease? Is it okay? It will be restricted now. It will be controlled. Is it okay? It will be restricted or controlled. But is MSP trade distorting? Think of it. Is the policy of MSP trade distorting? Yes. But I'm using a trade distorting policy to control or limit the production. MSP as such is a trade distorting policy. But I'm using that policy to control or to restrict the production. Right? Limit the amount of production. Right? That is the basic idea. These kind of subsidies are referred to as blue box subsidies. Now you can search hundreds of books. There is no example given for blue box subsidies. I will give an example. In case of India, you generally don't find the blue box subsidies, but in China, there was one type of a subsidy that was introduced in 2015 and 16, and the name of the subsidy, which basically is a blue box subsidy, is a corn producer subsidy. Corn producer subsidy, CPS. Corn producer subsidy, CPS. So China has already used a blue box subsidy. European Union has used a blue box subsidy. You will not find blue box subsidies in India. Done. So this is basically the division of subsidies under the green box, blue box, and amber box. There is no red box in case of agriculture. Remember this, because the traffic light 3 lights are there. Go to the top. Go to the top. Traffic light 3 lights are there: red, amber, and green. We have green light subsidies or green box subsidies. We have amber box subsidies, and we do not have red box subsidies. We do not have red box subsidies in India. Okay, or for generally under agriculture, we do not have red box subsidies. Done. So this is the discussion regarding the subsidies and connection to WTO. Now, why is India opposed to all of it, especially the amber box subsidies? Why is India opposed to it? It does not agree with the calculation methodology. Very old. The process used by USA is different compared to India. USA says India subsidies are very high. India says, look at my methodology, these are very, very low. Population which is involved in the agriculture sector, especially in a developing country such as India, it is very, very high. Population which is involved is very high. For example, generally around 49% of working population in India, it is there in agriculture sector. Right? Around 49% of working population in India, it is there in the agriculture sector. Now, how many of you think agriculture sector provides very good returns? Let me know. How many of you are under the illusion that agriculture sector provides very, very good returns? Most of the crorepati's in India are there in agriculture sector. Absolutely no. Absolutely no. Right? Reason is that many reasons are there. For example, we are heavily dependent on monsoon. And if there is an uneven monsoon, unseasonal rainfall, gone. Right? We are dependent on the imports, right, of many of these crops. Suddenly the imports will flow, gone. Prices will crash, farmers will not get anything. Supply increases suddenly to the market. Right? Market prices will crash, farmers will not earn anything. Can you think of current affairs examples? Tomato prices, onion prices, potato prices. Right? R&D is the best example to basically prove the point that agriculture is, right, a very, very risky business to be in. So government of India says, in that case, I will have to provide welfare. I will have to introduce certain policies to protect the interest of the farmers. One of the policies is MSP. Another policy is providing free electricity, provide fertilizer at a lower cost, etc. It is a livelihood issue for a very large number of poor farmers. Large number of farmers are poor in India. Right? In fact, I've told you the data earlier. As per agriculture census, more than 86% of the farmers are small and marginal. Don't you want to ensure they will have certain amount of returns when they produce and sell? That's the reason. Right? India's population is also very high. Population is very high means what? Food production should be higher. If you want to increase the food production and ensure that food is available at a cheaper price, affordable price in the market, can you sell fertilizer at market prices to farmers? Right? We've discussed all of it. Can you allow, right, the farmers to purchase the food grain at market prices? Then the food grain cost will increase. Inflation will be caused. Right? Population which is very poor will not be able to afford food grains. Okay? Western economies provide much larger support per farmer. Right? A technical term used by the government of India. Look at USA. Look at Canada. When they provide subsidies per farmer, their subsidies are more than $700 per year. This is the data given by government of India itself. If you look at US and Canada, per farmer, the government in both of these countries provides subsidies to the farmers to the account of more than $7,000 per year. $7,000. What about India? Government of India says per farmer annually, I provide support $49. $49. I provide $49 worth of support per farmer per year in India. USA provides more than $7,000. So who should contain the subsidies? USA. But tell me, simple question. Many of you feel, yes, sir, it is correct. They should control it. But you tell me, agreement on agriculture talks about per farmer or overall agriculture subsidies. Have a look at this. Right? The agreement on agriculture, when you discuss that agreement on agriculture, is it covering per farmer subsidies or overall subsidies given for agriculture, for rice cultivation, for wheat cultivation, etc.? It talks about overall. But government of India, that's the reason I told you. Government of India is not happy with this. They say we will have to review all of it. Right? So these are some of the arguments which are given by government of India in favor of their policy, their MSP policy. Done? Okay, so this is a discussion regarding the concept of subsidies, the idea of the different types of subsidies, why subsidies are provided, what is e-rupee, how it is better compared to DBT system, what is DBT system, etc., etc., etc. Done? Now, let me go to the next chapter here. Let me enter into next chapter. That is agriculture and food processing. The concept of agriculture and food processing. Now, what are the topics I'll be covering under agriculture? MSP. Just now we have seen the discussion on MSP. Right? Let's have a complete idea about what is MSP. We'll discuss food subsidy as well as food security, agriculture credit, storage or warehousing, marketing, APMC as well as ENAM, technology in the agriculture sector, food processing. Okay, then we'll enter into food processing. Okay, now let's start. Right, what is this idea for MSP? What's the concept of MSP? MSP, it is the price that is paid by the government on procurement of food grains from the farmers. Right? I'll repeat it. What is MSP? MSP stands for minimum support price. Initially was introduced, right? Introduced around 1966 to 67 in India, wherein government of India said, whenever I purchase the food grains, whenever I procure the food grain, I will pay a certain amount of money to the farmer. That price is called as minimum support price. Minimum support price. Now, why it was introduced? Follow this carefully. 1960s. It is associated with the Green Revolution. It is associated with what? Green Revolution. What happened in Green Revolution? Government of India promoted. Okay, Government of India promoted usage of high yield variety seeds, usage of irrigation, usage of a pesticide, insecticide, mechanical tools, etc., so that the productivity will increase and production will also increase. Simple idea, right? What is Green Revolution? It refers to set of inputs, right? What set of inputs, right? Let's say irrigation equipment, pesticides, insecticides, more importantly, seeds which have a high yield variety seeds. For example, initially we started with wheat, then we introduced rice also, etc. So the argument was production will increase, right? And supply to the market will increase. And understand the context here. Sir, why did we promote Green Revolution? Because when I discuss planning, we'll come back to this again. At this point of time, there was a scarcity of food grains in India. There was scarcity of food grains. We used to have a shortage of food grains and import a lot of food grains from external market, such as USA. So Government of India said, rather than being dependent on other countries, why don't we promote production in our own country? That is the reason Green Revolution was promoted. But along with the promotion came a problem. What is the problem? Under Green Revolution, production will increase. And when production will increase, market prices will start falling down. Any problem in understanding the sequence here? Right? When the production will increase, supply to the market will increase. What will happen to market prices? Market prices will fall down. So farmers have listened to the Government of India, have cultivated more crops, but their earnings will be very low. Is it a good outcome? Of course, no. We do not want the farmers to suffer. So in order to address this, government introduced a concept called as minimum support price from 1966. Under this policy of MSP, government would simply say, whatever is the market price, don't worry, I will purchase a food grain from you at this price only. For example, imagine the MSP for a crop is 1,000 rupees. Imagine MSP for a crop is 1,000 rupees. So whatever be the market price, it could be more than 1,000 or less than 1,000 rupees. Government will simply purchase this crop at 1,000 rupees. Any problem in this? Because remember this, market prices could be higher than 1,000, lower than the 1,000. That is, market prices are determined based on supply and demand. Market prices are determined based on supply and demand. Today, if the supply increases, market price will come down. Today, if the demand increases, market price will go up. But in case of MSP, right, government will announce it. Whatever be the market price, government will simply purchase the crop at this price only. That is the idea or the concept of minimum support price, which was introduced by the government. Now, next, central government will announce MSP. State governments, right? Center will announce MSP. State governments can also announce bonus. Remember this. Central government will announce MSP. State government will announce bonus. Right? So what is the meaning of it? Let's say here is the state government which has announced a bonus of 200 rupees. Center has announced MSP of 1,000 rupees. If I'm a farmer, I will sell the crop. I will not only get MSP of the central government, I will also get the bonus from the state government. So how much money I will get in this example? I will get 1,200 rupees whenever I will sell the crop. So center will announce MSP, state will announce bonus, and a farmer in that state will get MSP plus bonus. That is another very important point. Now, when I say center will announce MSP, what is the process here? What is the process? There is one authority, CACP, Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. CACP will consider various factors in the economy. For example, CACP will consider what is the cost of the production. It will consider what will be the supply in the market, in the domestic market, in the international market. How much will be, right? How much will be the demand for the crops in domestic market and external market, etc., etc., etc. There is a list of the factors considered by the CACP. Based on that, they will give recommendation to Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Based on that, they will give a recommendation for more than 20 crops to Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Now, it is the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs which will decide the MSP, which will decide and announce the MSP before the sowing season will start. Before sowing season, right? And the argument of the government is simple here. I will announce it before the sowing season so that the farmer will know, right? The farmers will know which crop to cultivate. Based on their requirement of MSP, they can cultivate any crop that they want to. Right? That is basically the concept of the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs deciding the MSP and the CACP recommending it to Government of India. That is Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Now, next point. How many crops are covered under MSP? How many crops are covered under MSP? I'll just go with the CACP website. The website says 23 crops are covered under MSP. And these are the crops, have a look at it. These are the crops, please have a look at it. Cereals are there, pulses are there, oil seeds are there, and commercial crops are there. Now, please focus on this and answer to me. How many of you think government will purchase all of these crops? Let me know. How many of you think, I'm not given the answer, but you think of it and let me know. How many of you think government will purchase all these 20 plus crops? Right? You should say, sir, no, government will not purchase all of these crops. Why? Why doesn't government purchase all the crops? Let me answer that question. Why do you think government will purchase crops in the first place? Government will purchase the crops for distribution purposes. Any problem in this? Government will purchase the crops for what purposes? For purchasing, storing, and distribution. Now, how many of you have seen Government of India distributing coffee? Let me know. How many of you have seen Government of India distributing copra, cotton, jute, etc.? So that is the reason. Whatever is required, government has certain requirements. Whatever is the requirement, only those crops government will procure. Now, let me add one more point, but I'll ask you a question on this. Let me add one more point and I'll ask you a question on this. If Government of India, think of this and answer. If Government of India will pay MSP and purchase a jute, and as a result of this, it will cross the 10% limit. Can Government of India claim peace clause? Right? Think of this and answer. I'll repeat it again. Government of India will purchase a jute and pay MSP, and as a result of this, right, the amount of subsidies given will cross 10%. Can Government of India claim peace clause? Answer is no. It will not be allowed to claim peace clause. Some of us saying yes. No, you are not listening to the lecture carefully then. Right? Is a jute part of food security? Is a jute part of the food programs run by Government of India? Did you not listen to the conditions related to peace clause? What was the condition? If the government will cross the 10% only for food security, I will allow that under peace clause. Is jute procurement connected to food security? Of course, no, not at all connected to food distribution. So why will other countries accept it? They will never accept it. Right? So that's the reason these kind of technical terms can be asked by UPSC. Books will not give you all of this. Trust me, these kind of questions will be asked by UPSC. You feel, sir, peace clause, they say it is allowed. So I think it is allowed. No, my dear. If you're going to cross 10% only related to food distribution, right? What do you procure for food distribution? In case of India, we procure rice, we procure wheat. So you cross 10%, I will allow you exemption. But if you pay MSP for jute and cross 10%, why should I give it to you? And the peace clause will not be applicable in such crops. Done? Right? So remember all of this. So MSP, as of now, 23 commodities are there. This is a list of the commodity. Now I'll focus on one of the commodity here, sugarcane. I'll focus on one of the commodity, that is sugarcane. Now what is this sugarcane? Why I'm focused on this? Now understand the process here. Sugarcane is cultivated, produced by the farmers. Will Government of India purchase the sugarcane? Will Government of India purchase sugarcane? No. Government doesn't purchase sugarcane. What the government says is, farmers should take this sugarcane, sell it to sugar mill owner. Sugar mill owner. And what does the sugar mill owner do? They will purchase the sugarcane, convert that into, let's say, sugar, and sell it in the market. Convert that into sugar, prepare sugar, and sell it in the market. But here is a problem. Here's a problem. If I allow the sugar mill owner to determine the price, most of the thing that should be done. If the government will allow sugar mill owner to determine the price at which they will purchase sugarcane, is there a possibility of abusing the system? And it has happened. Right? I'll repeat the statement here. If Government of India says, I will not decide the price of sugarcane, you decide. Right? Mill owner is purchasing, the farmer is selling. Let them negotiate, let them decide the price for the sugarcane. Is there a possibility of abusing the farmers here? How? Right? Understand this. As per science, when you harvest the sugarcane, basically cut the sugarcane. Right? When you harvest the sugarcane, within certain number of hours, right, that is 1 or 2 days, the sucrose content will be very high. Liquid, right? The liquid sucrose content in it will be very, very high. And as you keep on that storing, if you keep on storing the sugarcane like this, after 2 days, after 3 days, you will lose the sucrose content, it will start drying out. Right? If you have eaten sugarcane, you will realize it. You will purchase sugarcane from the market, it is already harvested, you will keep it right on a table. After 2 days, it will start drying out. And once it starts drying out, whatever liquid you can get, sucrose you can get, will keep on getting lower and lower. Now tell me, you are the mill owner, I am the farmer. Am I not at your mercy? Let me know. Right? You are the mill owner, I am the farmer. Government is not intervening. Am I not at your mercy? That is, if you delay it by 1 day, if you delay the purchasing by 2 days, you will keep on holding negotiations. What will happen to my sugarcane? They will dry out. Now nobody will purchase. Right? You will ask me at 2 rupees per kg, 5 rupees per kg. I will not have any option but to sell it to you. That is the precise reason. In case of sugarcane, remember this, Government of India will announce FRP. Fair and remunerative price. Does it make sense or not? Let me know. Fair and remunerative price. FRP, fair and remunerative price. FRP is the price that the mill owners will have to pay to the farmers. No option. The price that has to be paid by the mill owners to the farmers again is decided by Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. And the recommendation will come from CACP, Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. Done? So these are the various important points regarding EMSP. Now further more points are there. We'll continue the discussion tomorrow. We'll continue the discussion. Many more points are there regarding MSP. We'll continue the discussion tomorrow. Let me take a pause now. Let's stop the discussion right now. Done? Okay. So before I wind up the session, let me address your questions. Here sugar mill owner might be at a loss, won't they? Right? What do you mean by sugar mill owner is at a loss? Let me know. Right? Possibility is there. But what is the point that you're looking at? Let me know. Okay. Sir, what means MSP? It means government procuring price. If government not buy, then why include in MSP? But your point number 1, rice is covered under MSP. But you tell me, simple question to all of you. Should the government purchase all the rice in India? Let me know. Should the government purchase all the rice in India? Of course, no, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So as per the government requirement, they will purchase. Be it rice, be it wheat. Right? As per their requirement, they will purchase. Not because you have cultivated, because the government requires it. Okay. How NDTL affects demonetization? You tell me the context. If you simply say how NDTL affects demonetization, what you're looking at, I don't know. Where you've read it, I don't know. You tell me the context, only then I'll be able to explain this. What are the conditions associated with peace clause? 1, you should be purchasing the food grains for food security purposes, food distribution purposes. In such cases, if you cross 10%, I will allow it. I will allow you to claim peace clause. Right? And when you purchase the food grains by paying MSP, you will not be allowed to export it. You will not be allowed to export it. And third, when you purchase the food grains by paying MSP, it should not affect food procurement by other countries. And that is basically the idea of the conditions related to that. What is the abbreviation of CCA and right? It simply means you don't even know what we have discussed so far. Did I not give you the abbreviation of CCA and CACP earlier? Right? Focus on the classroom, my dear. What is banker in line with e-rupee? Banker, basically, the government will approach a bank, provide money, that is a subsidy to the bank, and give the details of the beneficiary. Now, the bank will send the QR code to the beneficiary. That is the role of the bank. Is there any private sector that is currently using e-rupee? As far as I know, I have not come across anyone. Basically, it's a process. It will take time. Don't worry. How to do self-study in economics? If you are having a background in economics, maybe you can try. But if you do not have a background in economics, it will be slightly difficult. In most of the crops, these are not procured by the government, but MSP is announced. Is it not dependent on the market forces? Of course, yes. Only the crops which are purchased by the government, right? MSP makes sense. Other crops, it is basically the market forces. Okay. What is the blue box? Blue box simply means those subsidies which are market distorting. These are market distorting. But government will use these subsidies in order to contain the production, limit the production. Those are called as blue box. And because you're using it to control the production, there are no limits on blue box subsidies. In case of amber box subsidy, importing country can impose import duty instead of raising dispute. They can do that. But if they do that, will you also not do it? I hope you understand. Your argument is let the other country impose taxes. If they do that, you will also do it. Right? So basically, both the countries are at war then. Again, not a little defense war, it's a tariff war. What it means, the government cannot export. You have paid MSP, purchase the food grains. That is basically a trade distorting policy. Now you will not be allowed to export those food grains. How MSP is a trade distorting? If MSP is announced, cultivation of those crops will be higher. If cultivation is higher, supply will be higher. If supply is higher, market prices will be lower. So there is a potential of these crops being exported from India to USA. That is a trade distortion. Okay. Done. Should we read Nitin Singhania? You want to read it. But don't read from first page to last page. I'll tell the same thing to every student in every class. Any reference book you want to read it only as per the requirement. Sorry, it is given in the book. I will read it. Read it. I don't mind it. Read it. But is it required for UPSC? That's a reason. Okay. Why did we stop sugar subsidy? Sugar supply, if in the domestic market, sugar supply goes down compared to demand, don't you think the prices will increase? It will cause inflation. That's the reason government of India said, rather than promoting export, let me contain the export so that the supply will be controlled and market prices will also be controlled. Done? Okay, so let me stop the discussion today here. Right, let's continue tomorrow from this idea. From this idea of MSP, I need to explain a couple of more concepts regarding MSP. Then we'll take up agriculture sector. Done? So that's it from my side today. Again, questions regarding subsidy as a separate concept has not come. We'll club it in agriculture. We'll look at it. After agriculture, questions are there. Okay, so that's it from my side. Take care. See you tomorrow.